Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, September 21st, and... oh, seriously? No, wait, we're still good. I have some Tavern Brawl things I need to get done on the European and Asian account, but I thought for a second that we had lost the daily quest on the main account, and that's not the case. What happened is I got them all done on the main account. Let's see. If we could get our friend Tragic Master to jump into a game, I can watch and learn on him. Meanwhile, I just need to play a bunch of Shaman class cards, which is good. That's not too hard to do. Probably don't want to play the Murloc deck, so we probably want to play even Shaman, and let's start playing. So, we've got some real news, which is, to me, probably an indication that I never needed Your Gamer, PC Gamer, Rock Paper Shotgun. I never needed any of those people to give me news. Gamma Sutra, GameIndustry.biz, TechRaptor seems to probably put out the real news that actually matters, just fine. And see, that's one of the things I realized is that, like, there really is no reason, regardless of your bent or your opinion or how you feel about any news source. In the video game industry, if you don't like the news source you're getting, if you don't like Polygon, if you don't like Kotaku, if you don't like IGN, if you don't like Giant Bomb, you can just ignore them. They all repeat each other for all the big information anyways. It doesn't matter. And it certainly has been a weird journey personally for me, because I did like Giant Bomb and for a long time, but it kind of has just gotten progressively worse, I would say, after Ryan, I believe his name is Ryan Davis, died. Like, that was the point where they started changing up who was actually members of the group, and it started to grow and contract and change, and things just went awry. They stopped really being focused around video games in total, and became more of this, what I'm gonna argue is a lifestyle website, which is basically all it is now. In comparison, since IGN is, I think, also owned by CBS, they just got 10 million subscribers on YouTube, which is a pathetically low amount of subscribers for something as big as you would have thought IGN is. So it's more evidence in my mind, at least, how I'm taking that fact and spinning it into an opinion, is that IGN is one of many big mainstream media websites that cannot get a foothold in or get anybody's attention on YouTube, at least because people are tired of it. But I don't want to get into too much of a rant here, because there's a lot of news and a lot of games to cover. This doesn't particularly have to be the longest of streams today. I didn't really do too much. I uploaded the last bits of the Boomsday puzzle solutions, and so now I just need to schedule them. After this stream, I have a bunch of other Hearthstone episodes that I need to upload to free up some space, and then I'm back to Borderlands 2. The Windows 10 update has changed the audio a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit weird dealing with that, but not super weird. So get back to Borderlands 2, and then after I play, I think, like 30 episodes of Borderlands 2, which I gotta remember whether I was playing hour-long episodes or 30-minute episodes or 45-minute episodes or what on Borderlands 2. After I make about 30 of them, which would be more than a month since it's only Monday to Friday. I'm gonna have to sit down and decide whether or not I want to do anything else for November. One thought I'm having here, and this is kind of a crazy thought, is that last November was like a Thanksgiving theme. These are games I got for free. I still have plenty of games that I could go under that type of coverage and try and have an experience with games that I just got for free. Last year in November though, most of those games, I think almost all of them, I played just for like 30 minutes and then I said, yeah, I might come back to them, and then I never came back to any of them. So in practicality, it turned into an experience of a never gonna play November anyways, and so that's kind of where I'm at this point, is I'm thinking, why don't I just call it never gonna play November and play some games that I have collected through one reason or another, but I'm probably never gonna play. And if that's the way I want to spin it, which maybe it is, maybe I should try to play Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy is a game I have that I'm probably never gonna play seriously, just because it's going to be too much of a hassle. Too many finger blisters and too much precise movement. It would be kind of interesting if I started to play Super Meat Boy and I got through the whole game somehow, and then I was able to beat it, and I doubt I'd be able to beat it and get every single secret or do it in any reasonably good time or fashion, but the possibility is there that I could beat it on easy, or if there is some kind of easy equivalent. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. As for December, there's no December theme that should happen. I think though that we will probably hit a point where in January, let's now watch and learn this Tragic Master here. I think January is going to turn into a secondary Halloween month, or just zombies in January. It's the slowest month, theoretically, what they say on YouTube. So redoing zombies in that month is probably a good idea. Doing anything a little different in January or February is probably a good idea. But I do think that there needs to be a collection of zombie games that aren't so scary that they really need to be in that they need to be in a Halloween October month anyways. It's just zombie games and zombie games. For example, Dead Island, I don't think I just watched a video of me playing Dead Island just at random. Dead Island I don't think has anything too much in it to really justify being in October. It's a zombie RPG, sure, but it's not super spooky or scary. Okay, let's hope he can jump into another game. Yes, he is. So, first bit of news story. Game Master chose an article. Blizzard's Diablo series tapped for a possible Netflix show. That doesn't really bode super well because the Netflix TV series have been very iffy. Like, I would say at best every show that gets added that's an original on Netflix is, let's see, only catching the attention of at most 20% of their audience, and that may be a high enough number for them to still continue to do it, but you do get quite a lot of duds in my opinion. It's not a consistent high quality product that even if it wasn't for me, I could see an audience that really likes it. What Netflix is sadly proving is that quality doesn't seem to really matter too much, and you can just, as long as you're doing something and making something. Netflix is in definitely a rough position because they have to make up for the fact that everybody is removing their content license agreements with Netflix. So all the good movies, all the good TV shows, all those contracts are getting pulled up and they're being put on the upcoming Disney streaming service, or Hulu, or Amazon Prime, or CBS All Access, or CW Seed. That's just to name the ones I know of. So Netflix is in a very dangerous position where they really will only have their originals, and the Castlevania anime was way too short. Netflix original, but it was pretty good. Everybody liked it. I liked it. I just think it was really short, and so I'm not sure when you actually get a real season of that that might be interest, whether you can stretch that out into a long enough series. Can you get 100 episodes and get to syndication, which is not really a concern for Netflix, but it probably should be. They probably should try to say, we want to make 100 episodes of all our original shows so that there's just enough content to reach further than what is a realistic binge on Netflix. I imagine that's where you want to go. Hey, we've got somebody on the chat. It's Tragic Master is on the chat. He says, yo man, I will try to combo you a win. Thanks, Tragic. So he's on the chat and he's playing. On the other hand, there's still a lot of terrible original Netflix things like the Death Note Netflix series, or the Neo Yokio Jaden Smith series. Like, just things that I don't think anybody from any perspective really enjoyed, and they're spending too much money on that. The stand-up comedy, I was big into stand-up comedy a few years ago, but nowadays it's like I can't even sit through one stand-up comedy a bit, and so their investment probably isn't paying off in the long run on that. Some of their shows that I do like the Santa Clarita Diet, they come and go too quickly, and so there's definitely problems with like getting people to really watch their shows, and that's why Netflix is thinking about running ads in between some of the episodes that you stream and turning Netflix from a ad-free experience into a commercial experience back to TV. And if they go down that route, it will only be a few more years until we're seeing ads for like Coca-Cola and other products in the Netflix streams too. The funny thing here is they can slowly boil a frog for the $12 a month to have you go back to the exact same experience you'd be getting from watching cable. And since cable is just ever way more expensive than $12 a month, it's still very possible to make Netflix a lot worse instead of making it better. I still think, though, since I'm not the target demographic here, but I think Netflix is doing a pretty good, decent job with being your source for kids shows. With the slight exception of the fact that they still don't have a filter, it seems like, to tell the difference between a child's animated series and a child's anime series and an adult anime series. Because I guarantee you there are some parents out there that still would not want their kids watching a child's animated series. And they'll have a lot of different reasons for it, and I'm not going to cover them all, or any of them, but there definitely are parents out there. In fact, there's probably parents out there that would really love if there was a Netflix option to only allow, like, VeggieTales, only allow the Christian-based cartoons on to be streamed, and family-approved things. The V-chip needs to be rethought and implemented as far as how net streaming works. And the good news is the YouTube Kids app is adding a new feature to do exactly that. And so kids now, that if they're watching through the YouTube Kids app, you can specifically, for I would assume extremely young kids, only let them see approved content, which the YouTube Kids app had already switched from being, well, we're going to randomly pick things that we think are kid appropriate, to we're going to curate these things. I'm not sure how much of this actually is curated on the YouTube Kids app, or how they're accomplishing that, but they're saying we're going from even a curated experiences, which is what they claim now, to a specifically you have to opt in every video, which works for about 2-year-olds that just want to watch the wheels on the bus over and over again, and that's all they think the app can do. It doesn't work for a 5 or 6-year-old who wants to probably watch the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. One of the things that I want to also mention is I looked at my statistics. Tragic Master said rip combo.
The circle of life is over.
My watch time in the last 30 days is at like 50% of what it was. So I have lost a lot of views, and I assume this is probably because of the expansion last month got me a lot more views, and so now I'm back to normal. One would hope that that's the best way you could spin that negative news, but yeah, my channel, if I look at it from that perspective, is not doing great. The Hearthstone expansion is the only thing that tent poles this channel, and then as soon as there isn't a Hearthstone expansion, everything goes away. So in theory, I should just wish that there was always a Hearthstone expansion, and I should just always play Hearthstone, and I'm just not willing to do that. That being said, doing the Silent Post show Wednesday and going for a lot longer did seem to bring my channel towards that video to 50 views, whereas previous streams had only been around 20 views. So that's going longer again is better for my channel. It's just not something that I'm willing or capable of doing. Tragic Master says, I was offline for a few months, had some things in real life to kept me busy and away from YouTube and Hearthstone. Back now though, smiley faced. Well, I'm sure Tragic Master is certainly one of my fans that watches my videos. I can't blame any one of my fans for the low viewership. The people to blame are clearly YouTube and just not promoting the videos. or me for not making good videos, or the fact that I don't make thumbnails, not making enticing enough videos. I did have a slight thought of changing the clickbait titles on these live streams to say, and instead of not talking about a trending topic, instead say not playing the most recent video game. So in the instance, it would say, like right now it would say Hearthstone and video game name news and not playing Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man. The problem with doing that though is then the titles wouldn't change fast enough.
Rest now.
So let's get to the big news. Telltale Studios is closing down. I have a note here from Kevin Bruner, B-R-U-N-E-R, which is the guy in charge of Telltale. It makes more sense why Telltale Poker Night at the Inventory 2 was not renewed any of the licenses and why they didn't care about that. In that news, I said, well, if they're not going to renew any of the licenses for any of their games, they don't own anything else, because short of Sam & Max, Telltale has been doing nothing for the past decade except for licensing The Walking Dead and Batman and The Wolf Among Us and Galaxy of the Guardians. In fact, I just spent $9 on the Humble Bundle to get the Galaxy and the Guardians game. At this rate, I think there's probably only 2 more Telltale games I'll ever have to buy in my life, and then I'll have done the entire series and collection of them. And so it's weird because they gave us a lot of lies. I mean, you have to say it's a lie now about The Walking Dead Season 4 was the last game that would ever use the Telltale engine. They're going to invest in learning how to use a new engine or make a new engine, and that they were going to bring in a whole new generation of Telltale-like games that ran better and didn't have the development problems. I mean, at this point, you kind of have to say that whether that was a true intention at the time, it has now become a falsehood at this point, because that's certainly not what's going to happen. Let's see. Tragic Master said he was milled, frowny face. So here's let's see. So Kevin Bruner has this article, Telltale Closure Period. Today is a very, very sad day. I left Telltale a year and a half ago after an extended period where the board of directors and I had different visions of Telltale's future. So there's been a split. It hasn't been reported a lot, and how we might get there. That was one of the hardest times of my professional life. So the board of directors apparently are shuttering the company. They probably just were trying to make money for themselves and make a quick buck. And this inherently, I think, is going to boil down to the reason why companies should not be allowed to be public, and there should be no concept of shares and stock markets and investors, because the thing about investors is that they're not there to support your company and give you money so your company succeeds. They're there to bleed your company dry, and once it can no longer give them the profit they want, they're going to shut the whole thing down and sell it in liquidation. Skipping to the next paragraph. As a co-founder, I take enormous amount of pride that we were able to build the kind of games I was immensely passionate about creating, exploring, and performing, and perfecting, if that's even possible. Now, of course, when they first started, they also were making very different games with the Sam & Max games than what the Telltale and Walking Dead series has been. So they've been an entire generation out from the point-and-click adventure games like Puzzle Agent, or the poker games like Poker Night at the Inventory. Like, the very first Telltale game was a poker game. So, so the list here of games to remember them by is The Walking Dead, Tales from the Borderlands, The Wolf Among Us, Batman, Minecraft, Puzzle Agent, Poker Night, and Sam & Max. Were the kind of projects he personally loved. All of those you would have to renew the license on, except for Sam & Max, which they own, and the general concept of Poker Night. But you still would have had to renew any license of any licensed characters in Poker Night. That's why Poker Night 2 didn't work to get renewed.
Reporting for duty.
Let's skip to the next paragraph. Skip that paragraph. Skipping down. Today, I'm most saddened for the people who are losing their jobs at the studio they love. I'm also saddened by the loss of the studio that greenlit crazy ideas that no one else would understand. I'm comforted a bit knowing there are now so many new talented people and studios creating games in the evolving narrative genre. While I look forward to those games and new developments and continue to contribute, I always find a Telltale game to be a unique offering. I know that Telltale will be remembered fondly for what it's done best. Kevin, co-founder of Telltale Games. So he's not actually working for them anymore, but a co-founder has his statement there. In all honesty, having just played Season 3 of The Walking Dead, even that series, which is probably their best series, was running into problems. I think probably the Batman series, Batman fans are probably very used to the idea of stories not getting finished. Comic books do that all the time, so I think they're fine. I think The Wolf Among Us first game wrapped itself up perfectly fine in its first game, so I don't think any of the series really ended on big cliffhangers. The one that did would have been Walking Dead Season 3. And so that is definitely a issue. Let's see. Tragic Master says, having no luck today, I'm gonna take a break and question my RNG today, lol. Alright, well, let's see if we can find somebody else who we can watch and learn. That is certainly how it goes in Hearthstone. So, no, I'm gonna have to play. Back to the Shaman cards. Then. So you're in a pretty good position, I would say. The problem now, I guess, is if you don't own the Telltale games and you want to own the Telltale games, you probably should get them pretty quick, because already Poker Night at the Inventory 2 is gonna... I think you might be able to still buy that in some different ways. But if you want all the Telltale games, you probably should get them pretty quickly. Or, at this point, it opens up that door. It's like, well, why should you buy them at all? Why not just pirate the games? Like, who are you supporting now? Not the employees of Telltale. It's just going to be some license holder. It's just going to be some investor. It's going to be somebody that I could not care one bit. And I know for a fact, if you're an investor and rich enough to invest in things, you're probably rich enough to feed yourself. I mean, things like this, when the entire company is just abandoned. In my mind, the nebulous term of abandonware comes into play. Like, is all of Telltale now pretty much, or soon to be, abandonware? Basically. Like, you're not paying, particularly in the video game industry, buying a Telltale game today is probably not paying any employee that ever worked on that game. It probably would never pay any of the employee that worked on it. And it's not paying those employees to work on their next game either. Like, I could get in behind the idea of, well, you're not rewarding somebody for making The Walking Dead Season 1, you're paying somebody to make Walking Dead Season 2. But in this case, you're not doing either. There will be no more seasons of Walking Dead. The people who worked on Walking Dead have been fired. So, yeah. That is a weird issue, and we'll probably get into that story a little bit more. We'll probably get back into the story because it really is just breaking news right now. Gamatsu has an article, PS Vita production to end in 2019 in Japan. We've already heard about this, I'm pretty sure, but it's more evidence. I wanted to get a PS Vita and see if I could hack like a Raspberry Pi compute module or a Raspberry Pi Zero into it. Honestly, it probably wouldn't have ever worked, or it probably would have been easier just to run like a hack software on a standard Vita.
Winter is here.
I kind of feel like the Vita is a pretty good form factor, but the screen might not be as good as I think it is. But in general, the button layout's pretty good. The analog sticks. If you're trying to make something portable that has the equivalent of a PlayStation or an Xbox controller on it, well, the DS really doesn't have that. The Nintendo Switch didn't exist when I was considering this, doing this, but even now the Nintendo Switch is a little light on buttons.
Chill out.
So,
Chill out.
let's just keep playing. Let's drag this out. I'm not sure how long the battery or the CPU or anything. The Vita's a very old device too, so some knockoff in the same form factors, which there certainly have been lots and lots of Chinese knockoffs in the same form factors as the Vita. They may, at a certain point, start being even more powerful and more desirable than the Vita is. Of course, there's some iffiness there too, because knockoffs tend not to put in the best processors or anything like that, or the most amount of space. They tended to be made very cheaply. Moving on, Gamatsu, Tokyo Game Show started yesterday, early morning, evening for the United States, early morning Japan, evening for the United States. So they're trickling out some video games, probably, all very focused towards the Japanese audience. So we have a Gamatsu article where God Eater 3 has some gameplay and screenshots, and that doesn't particularly add anything to the conversation. God Eater, just as a reminder, is the Monster Hunter equivalent, except for the animation style is a little bit different, and you're fighting more metal punk monsters instead of animals and dragons. It's a little bit more steampunk and less fantasy compared to Monster Hunter. Gamatsu has a Utawaru Mono Zan free DLC Shinobu stage has been announced. The Utawaru Romono is Utawarumono, all one word, space ZAN. I have no idea what that game is, but I imagine it's gonna have a different name if it makes it over to the West. It's for the PS4 on September 27th in Japan. It looks like almost a Ninja Warrior style game. That might be the DLC level, is designed to look like Ninja Warrior. It's some girl with a cat tail running around Japan, a very empty Japan at night. Looks like a fantasy RPG type game, but can't really say much more about it.
Winter is here.
Gematsu has an article, Synaptic Drive coming to the PC. Let's see. So, Synaptic Drive seems to be a robot fighting game of some sort. Game is directed by the customizable creator and is planned to be released on the Switch and PC via Steam, and is seeking publishers and business partners. The game does not look very polished. Like, honestly, looking at Custom Robo, I could put it right on the level of so many medium effort Steam games that I could easily see this not even making it to a wish list if I just looked at it because of the poor visual appeal. Let's see. Just keep on playing. Gematsu has an article, Omega Labyrinth Life teaser trailer and screenshots. I kind of get the feeling that Omega Labyrinth Life is not from the same series as Omega Labyrinth Z, which was the game that was oddly banned, and it took a really long time to figure out what it was even getting banned for, because they were being so nebulous about it. And I'm still not 100% sure I have seen the scenes that were the problem in Omega Labyrinth Z. Yeah, this is the same series. They're just pushing out a different one, and they're using a different publisher, I believe, because it was P-Cubed in the UK that was trying to publish Omega Labyrinth Z, and now this is D3 publisher. It's coming out for the Switch in Japan in 2019, Omega Labyrinth Life is. Which, yeah. It's gonna certainly be a little weird when we start realizing that, oh yeah, there's all these very different experiences happening in Japan for the Switch compared to what is happening compared to the games that get released in the West. Although even in the West, a lot better than the Nintendo and the NES. Like, we're seeing a lot more mature and adult games, adult focused games, not adult only games coming to the Switch. I lost my place somehow. Gematsu PS4 Kingdom Hearts 3 Edition announced for Japan. So, a special PS4 bundle for PlayStation Pro model. This is weird because the last time this happened, something actually came about it. Digital Devolver is tweeted to, I don't know even how to see their tweets. They tweeted to the developers of Red Dead Redemption. They may have deleted these tweets. Oh no, here they are, a little bit. They tweeted to Rockstar Games saying, hey, Oops, I got distracted there. Free win for being distracted. Hey, we're up to rank 21. So they're very publicly saying, hey, the first response is, hello, we'd like to publish your new cowboy game on PC. And then replying to themselves and Rockstar, they said, nobody has to know, we can keep it a secret from Take-Two. We know a person at Steam and can set you up with a PC dev kit. Like this tweet if you want to talk more. And then the third response to themselves is, we're based in Texas, so we're familiar with horses chewing tobacco. We also own a gun. That last part isn't a threat. We just know about guns. Seems like it would be a plus. Anywho, DMs are open. So 4 tweets here of them jokingly, semi-jokingly I would say, wanting to publish Red Dead Redemption 2. And the funny thing is, that is how their last game seemed to pretty much come out of nowhere, is that they just through Twitter convinced somebody to license a game, or this is just really good viral app marketing. So it would be totally insane, definitely, if Rockstar did put out Red Dead Redemption 2 and none of the previous games in the series on PC. I think people would be alright with that, though. Like, at least you're getting something in that instance, and something's better than nothing. But it also is kind of ridiculous that Rockstar would need to go through digital development. And Take-Two probably would sue them out of existence if they did do it. Unless this has all been prearranged and this is all just a viral marketing, which probably isn't. Gematsu is an article, Conception Plus debut trailer. There's a growing number of games under this Conception key phrase. I don't know if they're all the same and this is an anime that I've just missed or forgotten about, or if this is just the idea of them building yet another genre. Like, that wouldn't be unheard of either. I'm also not 100% sure that, like, from a Western side, when I hear the word conception, it's almost universally only used as in conceiving a baby, but I'm not sure if that's how it's being translated, or if it has more to do with the idea of conceiving an idea. I guess, like, there is evidence that perhaps it is conceiving a baby, because there is a screen picture here of a girl bent over in pain, squeezing her stomach, holding her stomach. So it could literally be a getting pregnant visual novel simulator game. Actually, I don't think this actually is a visual novel. I think it's a more RPG game. Well, for Japan's low birth rate, they might have to start overemphasizing and focusing on people getting pregnant just to address that. I don't know if that would really work or not. The main problem with Japan's low birth rate is it's too expensive to live in Tokyo, and there's nowhere else really in Japan you want to live, because all of the other cities are not modern enough for the youth. There are these tiny little suburban cities that barely have like one coffee shop or one bookstore, and so there's nowhere to go, nothing to do, and that is not appealing. So everybody wants to live in Tokyo. That makes it even more expensive to work or live there. So ideally they need to build more cities and find cheaper educations. They need to create college towns, I would say, that are designed to cater to youth moving away from their parents' influence and living inexpensively while living very well. Gamatsu has another article. There's going to be a lot of Gamatsu things because of TGS. Romancing Saga 3 Remastered launches for all platforms in early 2019. Romancing Saga Re-Universe announced for smartphones. The Saga Scarlet Grace games, which also seem like a new series. So Romancing Saga 3 will be a PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, Vita, and iOS and Android in 2019, where Romancing Saga Re-Universe will just be iOS and Android. Yeah, I'm not sure that the Saga Scarlet Grace Saga series actually is a console first type game. It feels like it might be like cell phone games first, and then sometimes they port it. Moving on, Gamatsu anime to air April 29th. Switch version launches spring 2019. So they are doing a full press push there. There's a debut trailer for YU-NO, a girl who chants love at the bound of this world is the name of the anime. Let's see what kind of game it is, if we can tell by the trailer. And see, the funny thing here is I was thinking to myself just earlier today that you definitely end up giving special preference to Japanese games, and in particular, I think I have a slight aversion, or perhaps even better just to say perversion, to the sex games that come on Steam and the Japanese games that come on Steam. So I was definitely trying to think, how can we focus that down a little bit and try to be a little bit more balanced. I'm not sure it really needs to ever happen, but I totally get the idea if somebody was to make that claim that, hey, heck, you're always talking about these type of games and you never talk about sports games, or you never talk about these other type of games. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally true. I see it. Of course, it'll never be a situation where in every stream I talk about one sports video game and one shooter video game and one puzzle video game, because that's just not how the number of games work. There's a ton of some kinds of games and not too many. I cannot tell what is. I'm assuming it's either an RPG or visual novel, since that's typically all they make. Let's go ahead and just end the turn now. I don't know why I'm not taking the victories. I'm on a win streak. I should be taking victories like crazy. Gamatsu's an article, Million Arthur, Arcana Blood for the PS4 as a trailer. This looks like it's a side-scrolling fighter game. It's coming out for the PS4 on November 29th in Japan. I don't even know if I really need to watch the trailer too much for this. Most of these TGS trailers don't say or show anything anyways. They're all just flashy animations. Yeah, it's just it looks like a 4-person party fighting game. I should have taken the victory. So yeah, a lot of these. First game we have on Steam is called Arcane Trails. Suffering from dark screenshot syndrome. It's a VR game. It looks like it has a little too basic of graphics for a VR game. Those textures do not look good enough. And it's $4.99. Easy to ignore because it's a VR game. Easy to ignore because it just is super dark with not very much details as far as any of the things you can see. Let's go and play this. Then win. Tech Raptor has an article. Tragic Master said good game. Thank you. Thank you, Tragic. I should just be riding the win streak bonus. And don't break the bonus. Like, even if we're not really doing too much as far as progressing the daily quest. Yeah, TechRaptor has an article, Magic the Gathering Arena, open beta announced. So, theoretically I could be playing this right now. And streaming the open beta. If I really cared about views, if I really just wanted to do that, following 3 days of downtime between September 24th and 27th at 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Arena will be open in its open beta phases, and Wizard claims this is only the beginning. From here on, this more experimental event types, making player ranking and progression more meaningful, cosmetic items, and more importantly, a better solution to what happens when you get a 5th copy of your card. Additionally, they'll be looking on the handle set rotation and bringing back those sets that rotated out of the game. And interesting, this announcement trailer has not Danny DeVito, it's well, it's got Day 9 on it, first of all, so like Day 9 is probably the most famous Magic player, streamer, and then the famous actor who's a Mexican-American actor that all his characters are named after knives, which is a funny joke because he was on parole and the parolee, his parolee person in charge of his parole told him that he couldn't be associated with or handle knives. Let's see. So yeah, that's something for me to definitely think about. Should I jump into the Magic the Gathering Arena beta just in case? Just in some crazy case that in case the game takes off and is more interesting than Hearthstone, which I seriously thought it would be. Moving on, we have Gamma Sutra has an article, Under the Sea, a look at Beyond Blue and In Other Waters. I'm pretty sure both of these games are not out yet, so this is probably a Gamma Sutra article that won't be really actionable because there's no links. Yeah, and Gamma Sutra articles / blogs, whatever they really are. I don't know if you really want to consider Gamma Sutra a news source because they seem to pretty much just let anybody they like write on it. That their articles tend not to be very long or informative. Speaking of Gamma Sutra blogs, here's one that's specifically labeled a blog, and it says, Committing Career Suicide, Telling True Stories About Game Development. Let's see if we can read any of this article. I'm trying to skim it. It's shilling a podcast is what I think all this is some stories to show the podcast. There's a quote here from Eric Valdez, senior character artist working on God of War. When asked about students wasting time in the art school, he responds with a paragraph response. Then there's Klaus Peterson from a website, bedtime.io. And then they've got a paragraph response, and then Derek Liu, who's what top 5 things can you add to your game or project to make it trailer friendly, which that is a gross thought. Just what can I add to my game, not to make it a good game, but to just make it more sellable. He gives a paragraph response, and then there's 2 people with a paragraph, and then Nina Freeman, who goes on twitch.tv under the Hentai PhD, was asked about burnout and work-life balance as an independent developer. And then Carl Armfelt was asked about how he feels about the pricing models in the game industry right now. And so this is a collection of people who were asked questions and I guess gave responses. I don't know how this inherently boils down to career suicide in any way. Because the only way you commit career suicide when talking to the public is if you're rude to the customer and then get fired, like a couple people have been. I heard an interesting argument between consumer and gamer, and how a lot of people making games are trying to target and make consumers not deal with gamers, which I think in at least a small part boils down to just, once again, the idea of gamers are dead. But that's not really what this argument was about. This was more about the idea of the concept of saying, no, these you can't make your game thinking you're selling Coca-Cola or Pepsi, and very few people really care if they get Pepsi instead of Coke. I'm not sure if this is a really good example, because there might actually be a lot of people that care if they get Pepsi instead of Coke. Water bottles. I guess water would be a better example. It's not an industry where you're selling bottled water and nobody probably cares what kind of bottled water they buy. Most people don't. If they're buying any kind of water bottle, which you probably shouldn't be. But instead, gamers are very informed and very particular. And the idea was that EA in particular, with their Battlefield series, they're not really making games for gamers, they're making games for consumers, for people who are just going to buy a Battlefield and not particularly care about the quality, and thus they're not going to bother to improve the quality. So yeah, that was a definitely interesting thought. Of course, I got off on a bit of a tangent there.
How long can this go on?
I'm just gonna continue to play cards. I think I probably got the daily quest done already, so I'm mostly just playing cards. To get back to the Gamma Sutra article, you have a Adam Saltman was asked, give us his successful strategies and when adapting to trend shifts. We have a Teddy Bergsman was asked, talks about chasing photorealism in computer graphics at 16 years old. And we have a Lucas Gonzalez, the difference designing games for consoles, PC, and mobile. And then at the end it says, if you'd like more of this and want to check out more, our podcast is featured on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are available. So this is an interesting way to advertise your podcast, certainly. But I guess it's a pretty honest way to advertise their podcast. And maybe I will listen to them. It's called Game Dev Unchained. They have 156 episodes, so it probably would be an interesting insight. So yeah, maybe I'll focus in on that. How are we? We're still like 2 shaman cards, and Tragic Master wants me to spectate, so I think he's got it. Yeah, Tragic Master, look at the chat, says, I might win this game I am in, but who knows, lol.
The light protects me.
Still plenty of games to talk about on Steam. We have a game called Cubology, which seems like it's mostly just a match in 3D. A cube with different patterns on it. You have to match the pattern to the pattern on the top to click. So it's kind of like a match 2 really fast speed mobile game. Single screen Unity game. $3.99. Nothing here that looks interesting enough to justify paying more than 60 cents. Here's a big story. GameIndustry.biz has this article, and many people do. Twitch has been blocked in China. Both its app on the iOS store in China has been blocked, and the website. So there goes Twitch and Amazon's thought of branching into China, and inherently it goes right back to my thought of you cannot try to get into China. China is just not a trustworthy market. As long as there is a market manipulating government in charge of China, which probably won't change anytime in the next 100 years, you cannot do business with them because they will pull stuff like this. And this is almost certainly affected, if not 100% due to Donald Trump and his trade war with China, and him, I guess it would be editorializing to say Donald Trump dragging the US into his own personal trade war with China. But honestly, it very easily could be nothing to do with the trade war. It could be due with the fact that on Twitch you've got girls painting their naked breasts. One of those girls being Zombie Unicorn, the host of the Bully Hunters terrible fiasco video that was made. You've got just a lot of the girls in revealing clothes with revealing camera angles that Chinese people don't really like. You've got the fact that it's video games and they don't like video games. You got the fact that it's chat that's probably not getting censored. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are Chinese people that were on Twitch talking about something that the Chinese government didn't want them talking about too. There's dozens and dozens of things there, and in the end it's going to come down to is Twitch going to bend over backwards and make a filtered Twitch streaming service and try to become unblocked, or are they just going to say forget it and move on with the rest of the world, where freedom and freedom rings, because it certainly doesn't ring in China. Alright. So let's go ahead and open this and then wrap up this recording, because it's been about an hour. I don't think it's... Let's see. Tragic Master said good luck on the pack. Thanks for believing in me, lol. Now, on my main account, even though they said they were going to add like 4 classic cards, I only have 1 legendary card that I don't have. So it comes down to a real question about why are none of these gold at this point. Yeah, I should have gotten 5 gold cards right then. I should be working towards gold cards, but I'm not. So, and I don't think it ever works that way. I'm just saying it should work that way. If we go down here to classic cards, and then I type in missing. Did I type that in right? Like, I'm missing 1 legendary here and 1 legendary here. So when I get these 2 legendaries and have a complete classic collection until they add those other 4 cards, which I imagine I'll get very quickly, every classic pack I open after that point, shouldn't that be gold cards only? Shouldn't I be on the process of getting gold cards? That's the idea, but that's not really what's going to happen. Instead, it's going to become extremely boring when I open classic card packs and all they give me is 40 or 50 dust. And I don't think we're anywhere close to getting a complete collection in just general. We're a lot closer on my main account than any of my other accounts, but the fact is still there's tons and tons of cards to get out there. Still running into a lot of bugs as far as cards being marked new when they really aren't. I need to play 2 more Shaman cards, and then I'll be done with the Americas account, and I'll move over to the Asian account. That's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, September 21st, and we've got a fan wanting to play me, so let's play Tragic Master. I also have a daily quest to play Shaman cards, so I'm just going to play my Even Shaman deck, and after playing those 2 cards, I will be good to go. And I can move over to the European account, because we've got a lot of work to do as far as the European account and the Asian account, because there's at least 3 pretty rough tavern brawls I have to do. Let's see. Hold on to that card because it's a Shaman card. Gamasutra has an article. PlayStation Now begins offering downloadable PS2 and PS4 games, but oddly not PS3 games, and also not PlayStation 1 games, which is a little bit weird, I would say, because you would almost certainly be able to, on the PlayStation 4, through PlayStation Now service, which I'm pretty sure you do need a PlayStation 4 hardware to do PlayStation Now, you almost certainly would be able to emulate PlayStation 1 games. And I know there is that micro, that PlayStation 1 Mini that has 20 games on it, but I figure you could probably at least duplicate those 20 games through PlayStation Now also, or have different games. And then the weird thing here is that they've literally just given up on PlayStation 3. Like, because PlayStation 3 is a completely different type of processor, it's just not compatible at all. They're just saying, we can't emulate PlayStation 3 games. Which is a shame, but it also probably explains why you haven't seen any PC releases or remasters or releases of things like Heavenly Sword. You just can't. Nobody is willing to spend the money, I think, to remaster and release a game that was originally designed for the PS3 and that cell processor. It seems like it's too much work. Tragic Masters on the chat. Also, he says, 2 Shaman cards, you say? I can help with a fun game. He's probably said that a few minutes ago. Let's do this, this. Like, the library of PlayStation 3 games that you would want translated over, they are good games. They are all PlayStation exclusive games, I would say, but it's not a super long list. It's the God of War games, it's the Uncharted games, it's Heavenly Sword. I'm not sure there's too much of anything else that didn't eventually come either to PC or Xbox. But Sony is certainly not improving its appearance to the outward fan base by specifically excluding PlayStation 3 games. They needed to find some way to spin that. Not have it there. Like, what they probably should have done is saying, they should have announced PlayStation 2 games for PSN Now, and then they should have probably waited and announced PS4 games later on. Had the 2 announcements been several weeks apart, then there could have been a gap there. But by putting it in the same announcement, it's like, we've got PlayStation 2 and we've got PlayStation 4. There's obvious, well, what about PS3? Let's see. We've got a game on Steam called Roman Adventures Britain Season 1. I've seen several of these strategy games, top-down strategy games. This is an English and Russian game, $5.99. Being a Season 1 game, that also knocks it out of contention. This developer has made a considerable amount of games that look very similar, and let's see, one of them is got 83% positive with 12 user reviews, and one of them is 68% with 16 user reviews. So I think that's an easy enough game to ignore if I am going to play a strategy game, top-down real-time strategy game of that sort. I don't know why it's not going to be some of the better-known Age of Empires games instead of some unknown developer. TechRaptor has an article, Pilot Sports coming to the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch on October 4th. I think Pilot Sports might be a continuation of the Pilot Wings series. The difference is now you're doing a lot more. Or it could not be.
Have I got a bomb for you?
No, it's not. Pilot Sports is not related to the Pilot Wings series, but I'm pretty sure there is a Pilot Wings, like, continuation game that was coming to the Switch at least. But I've forgotten the name of it. Pilot Sports looks a little rough in the graphics department. And that is also a talk about a game that I just need to wait until it actually comes out to talk about. We have a game on Steam called War of Conquest, which is a free-to-play, top-down, real-time strategy war game. Again, the graphics a little rough, a little missing textures here. Early access free-to-play game. Since it's free, I might check it out just because of that, but honestly there's nothing here that catches my attention, and looking, it's the only game from this developer. Alright. Go and play this. This. Job done. And in return, next we have a game on Steam called RAMS, which apparently stands for Research Automatic Military System. And what is it really? I'm seeing a trailer. Graphics not hyper realistic, but not terribly bad either. But what I would assume this is it's a slightly more polished asset flip first person shooter game than what I'm typically used to seeing. It still suffers from having a generic map and UI. It seems like there's no enemies or anything that's being shown. Yeah. It just seems like you run around and shoot people. It's something I've seen a lot of. And check that. Do that. RAMS is early access, 10% off for $11.69. No interest in keeping in on that on the wish list though, so close that tab. Gamer Sutra has an article. Valve will start helping developers moderate their Steam communities, which is interesting because you kind of assumed that there was something of that already. Like, what you don't see on Valve's website is a bunch of spam or advertisements on there. So at some level, there's some form of control that's already happening. But the developers of games, I think, probably want to do something a little bit more. They probably want to censor and control it, and Valve is in a very interesting position where they have to say, well, we can't have credible negative reviews, or even, you know, review bombing. We can't stop that from happening as long as it's not being review bombed because by a competitor or something like that. If it's review bombing because they DMCA PewDiePie, I would say that's probably valid as long as they explain the reasons for review bombing in the review. Whereas if it's review bombing because it's a corporation paying a bunch of random people to negatively review games so that their version of PUBG sells better, I think that is when it starts getting to vote manipulation. Well, so inherently, I guess that in my head means I feel like consumers should have the right to do some things where the corporation shouldn't be allowed to do, and I do believe that, so that makes sense. So let's read this article. Starting on September 25th, whenever a community discussion thread or post is reported by a player, it will automatically be added to a queue where Valve's moderation team to review. Any material that violates the community guidelines will then be removed. It's a change that will hopefully take some pressure off game developers who until now had to moderate individual game discussions themselves. To be fair, I have never seen an ad on a game's discussion thread. But I guess what I would take from this is it probably happens on some really rare occasions. So rare, in fact, that Valve is willing to even let have their employees spend their time on it. Now, if I was an employee at Valve and I was told I have to do the moderating here, and I'm some video game programmer, I would definitely not be happy in that position at all. Okay, so Tragic Master helped me get that done, so thanks Tragic. Off to the European account. Let's see. But I imagine also Valve is just subcontracting all of its moderation deals out to people in India. Let's see. Tragic Master said, "Good game, man. Good luck on the other server." Thanks.
It's good to see ya again.
While the Steam moderation team already had the power to review and take action against other forms of reported contents, such as screenshots, artwork, and guides, Valve was reluctant to start moderating individual discussions for fear of stepping on the toes of the game devs. However, with an increased number of developers asking for the company to show more of a presence on the Steam discussion board, Valve has decided it's time for a change in tack. We are at a point where we want to make sure we're putting our tools and human power to use in more ways across the Steam community. Of course, how this really gets implemented is all the question, and how it's actually moderated, because on the face of it, a lot of rules seem very fair and they get implemented very unfairly. It could be that the Campo Santo group is going to have undue influence, although that's not where Valve is going right now. It took them some time, but they got to the uncensored games being available on Steam. They seem to be more about free speech, so you would hope they would maintain that stance in their discussions. Although a discussion on a specific game's forum isn't 100% free speech, because you need to be talking about that game too, and that needs to be the main topic of discussion. Let's see. The next quote is, "We won't be actively pursuing your community discussions or posting in threads. You have your own voice and your own style of communication with players in game. We'll only be communicating with players if it's necessary when issuing a warning or ban for reported content." So how many people have ever even been probably reported for posting something in the discussion board? I bet the number one thing that gets flagged is spam. Just people saying, "Hey, check out my YouTube channel," which, heck, I would do it if I thought it would work. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll have somebody post in every game discussion forum to check out my YouTube channel." Anyone who wants to retain total control over the communications can opt out of the new service by visiting the Steamworks settings for their games. For more information, be sure to check out the Steamworks blog post. So if you really don't want them to even moderate the flagged things, that is still very much an option. Okay. So here's the big deal. I need 3 Tavern Brawls. I need to play Priest cards. I need 2 victories with Warrior. So it's Tavern Brawl, Tavern Brawl, Tavern Brawl. start playing with the warrior. And in all honesty, in some of the post-show that happened Wednesday, some of the victories I got was simply by not playing at all. I'd really boiled down to the point where I was just like starting a game and then not paying attention at all, and just playing on my phone until the opponent decided that it wasn't worth their time and left.
I will burn this world and rule its ashes.
Because it's definitely not fun to do this Tavern Brawl. And inherently, that's the problem with some of these Tavern Brawls in general, is it's just Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, telling me to play these Hearthstone cards that I've already decided I don't really want to play. Or play in a way that I don't understand or don't want to play. Let's see. Should I destroy weapons? We already talked about the Vita ending production. Gamasutra has an article. Tilting Point drops $29 million into Star Trek Timelines developer Disruptive Beam. So if you're a fan of Star Trek Timelines, then this probably is some good news. See, Star Trek Timelines, I believe, is the card game, is it not? Let's do a quick Google search.
I must choose.
Oops. Let's see. Star Trek Timelines is not the card game.
No
it's
peace,
a...
no rest.
What is it? Seems like it's some kind of game. Or maybe it is a card game. Maybe they've just upgraded this. It says action and RPG strategy. Yeah, it does. I cannot tell if this is a card game and the card game has just been improved a little bit compared to what I saw in the beta, or if this is a completely different game. Alright, well, Timelines, by the way, is 48% positive with 428 user reviews. Let me see if I can find a... When did this game come out? That would be an indicator too. Came out January 14th, 2016, so this is not the game I played. They're all the same though. That's the problem, is all these Star Trek games by the same name. Because of course it's going to be Star Trek something. I see a game called Star Trek Victory is Life. That's not it. There's a not recommended review here. It says if you don't play constantly, you're running up. If you don't pay money, you're constantly running uphill. They constantly get steeper. So it seems like it's a microtransaction laden game, suckering in all the Star Trek fans. And see, that is definitely something that I've tried to inoculate myself from. I definitely did not want to become a super fan of Star Trek. Even though I do like the Star Trek series, I don't want to end up having to buy things over and over again in the way that Star Wars in particular was constantly trying to rip people off with merchandising. So I'm searching Star Trek on Steam right now.
For the master.
There's Star Trek Online, which is 76% positive. Star Trek Timelines. Star Trek Bridge Crew, which is 83% positive. Star Trek Adversaries. Maybe that was the one I was saying. Yes, Adversaries was the card game. And it is now, in the last 30 days, 70% positive for 17 user reviews. Came out July 25th, 2018. But overall, of the 230 reviews it has, it's only 60% positive. So, yeah, people not super hot on it. It definitely didn't turn into a Hearthstone replacement, which is what it would have needed to do. And that didn't happen. There's also Star Trek 25th Anniversary, which is 93% positive. Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which is 80% positive. Star Trek Starfleet Commander Gold Edition, Star Trek Judgment Rights, Star Trek Bridge Crew Bundle, and the Next Generation, so you get Next Generation DLC, Star Trek Generation Bridge Crew Next Generation. Stern Pinball Arcade, Star Trek, and I think that's the last Star Trek directly things. And Stern Pinball Arcade Star Trek is part of Stern Pinball, which Stern Pinball Arcade, which is mostly negative. It's from Farsight Studios. When did it come out? December 23rd, 2016. So, yeah, I've definitely tried to inoculate myself from the idea of being too much of a super fan of Star Trek, because I don't want to spend a lot of money on a lot of bad games, which there have been certainly a lot of bad games in the Star Trek genre. We have Dinesh, that's probably Dinesh, who says, love from India. Hi Dinesh. Well, no victory there, no real surprise either. We have a game on Steam called Steve's Pub Soda on Tap, which looks like a VR game where you're working at a pub, and my feelings about playing games where you're doing a job still have not changed. This looks more like a actual video game where you're sliding down beer down the bar towards thirsty patrons. There have been 2D versions of games like this, and there's actually 2 bars that you can slide it down, which is kind of ridiculous. But the graphics look terrible. It's a free-to-play game though, so if you have VR and you want to play Steve's Pub Soda on Tap, you probably would get about 5 minutes of entertainment out of it until you got bored with it, which is probably more than what you can say about a lot of the games that come out on for VR. A lot of them don't look good enough to even bother to try and launch, which that's an issue too. Certainly a lot of VR games are messes to trying to get running. So, we have a game on Steam called Sakura de Mahjong. It doesn't look like it's a widescreen game. It's Mahjong matching, which is, you know, just a very generic games. It's the Eastern equivalent of playing Klondike Solitaire, or making a Klondike Solitaire game.
The sun has set for me.
I feel enlightened inside.
And so these games are never really worth whatever they're asking because they're too simplistic. Sakura de Mahjong is 40% off for $2.99. That's way too expensive. We have an article from Gamasutra. The Final Fantasy composer Nobu Uematsu, that's Uematsu, is halting his work due to ill health. He's stepping away from his current slate of projects to failing health. Generally speaking, if you're a Japanese person and you're stepping away due to ill health, you might as well take that as an indication that they are very close to dying. Like, very, very close, because working themselves to death is a sad factor, particularly in the video game industry, but just in almost all industries in Japanese working. So he worked on Final Fantasy titles, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Lost Odyssey, and Blue Dragon. Getting a new music composer for Final Fantasy isn't an impossible task, but it certainly could lend to a feeling of the game just feeling different. Because I definitely could understand that the music was a whole issue.
Immortality.
Let's see, and they will almost certainly not say what is actually wrong with them. Next, we have a game called Escape Parking Lot on Steam, which is tagged as an adventure indie casual, suffering from dark screenshot syndrome, and just looks like it's a garbage asset flip type game, set in a parking lot with a dragon attacking you for no reason. Yeah. If you ever needed an example of an asset flip, how about a simplified Chinese game that doesn't have English as an option, where you run around in a parking lot and one short. So yeah, Escape Parking Lot, which is English is not supported, is $13.99. Yeah, these low effort games come from all around the world. China, being a big part of the world, provides a lot of them. Next we have a game that's all in either Chinese or Japanese characters. This is another simplified Chinese only game. 15% off for $16.99. I can't even tell you what the name is, but apparently it translates to the Scroll of Taiwu, Taiwu.
What now?
Like, remember, right now the video games are not getting approved for sale in China, so every single Chinese developer is probably incredibly desperate to find some way to sell their game and make some amount of money. Because they're not selling it in the one place they were probably focused on selling it. Let's see. Let's see. We have Pun Master came on the chat. He says I-A-Y-Y. Then he says Forcing joke here. Or Forcing. And then it says it's 1 damage off lethal. And yeah, it was 1 damage off lethal. That one turn. And then the next turn came around and then I was fine. Next we have a game on Steam called Pummel Party, which is oddly 100% of 14 user reviews. It's a 4-player online and local multiplayer party game. We've seen certainly a lot of these before. Pummel Party, I will say, does look like it's a little bit more polished, and it oddly seems to shift between third-person perspective and top-down perspectives. So, I don't know if this is some kind of Mario Party-esque game. Yeah, it is. It's a Mario Party clone. So there's some mini games that you play from a top-down perspective, but you have a third-person over-the-shoulder perspective that happens when you're moving around. So yeah, can I play it single player? It says I can, but I'm not sure if I really can.
The sun has set.
The idea of a Mario Party clone on PC is very appealing. There's apparently a board mode. Pummel Party is very bloody too. You can play with bots. You know what? I'll put Pummel Party on my wish list. It's 10% off for $13.49. If you're big into Mario Party but you want it to be a little bit bloodier and you want people who are and you want to play with people on PC either locally or around the internet, this seems like it's got some of that. It probably doesn't have anywhere as many mini games or as much polish as the most recent Mario Party, but I bet it's better than the very first Mario Party 2. So somewhere probably in the middle there. You see, chat is just firing off. Let's see. Oh, Pun Master explained himself. In a tournament scene, Forsen, F-O-R-S-E-N, went 1 damage off lethal and lost. Yeah, I don't watch the Hearthstone tournaments or anything like that, but that would be annoying, certainly. I've certainly experienced things like that. Let's see, charge.
For the war chief!
We have a game on Steam called Hyperspace Delivery Service. It looks like it's an old school point and click adventure. No, it's actually a Wolfenstein 3D clone. And space, with space flying around elements. It's a weird combination of old games doing pixely graphics. I wouldn't inherently call this 8-bit pixel graphics, I just call it low resolution pixel graphics. The slight difference being the sprites don't inherently try to be very small.
Smelly fish! Yummy fish!
Let's see. This is an early access game, Hyperspace Delivery Service, 15% off for $8.49. For being old school graphics, it's very ugly looking, let's just put it that way. So that makes it pretty easy to ignore ignore the game.
Azeroth will be purified.
And the previous game this developer made was a similarly badly animated game, but it was a point-and-click adventure game, which allowed 29 users to give it a 93% positive rating. Either way, that's not a lot of people playing your games. Man, my mouse. I've rubbed off, I think, all the coating on either my mouse or my keyboard. And actually, I have a new mouse pad I should test and see if that is the problem
To serve the Lich King.
before I get rid of the mouse and replace it.
A real stinker! For me! Job done.
We have a game on Steam called Tactic Code. Seems like it is some sort of programming-esque game, but it's a drag and drop visual programming system. Looks very simplistic. It's in English and simplified Chinese. I think it's super simple. It's early access and 99 cents. There are better programming games out there, and I'm not sure how many, if any, programming games you should really play before you just take a programming class. Let's see. And I'm a little short. I shouldn't have done that. But whatever.
A real stinker!
By his will.
Let's see. I'm looking to see if my donate Nightbot command works. It's not something I think people can type in, although it was supposed to be something you could type in. But it's supposed to pop up after a certain number of time in comments to point to my new Patreon. And it didn't work first time it did try to kick in. Where are we now? We still need one more Tavern Brawl, and we need a bunch of Priest class cards. So let's play as a Priest. Priest. And go. Okay, we have a game on Steam called Siberian Dawn. Siberian Dawn is the original solo digital card game that combines the core soul of a deck builder with the tactical power of a war game and the strategic challenge of crisis management. I don't know what you get strategic challenge of crisis management from. That sounds like a nonsense story.
Escape The shadow of death.
Looking at this game, it's not very prettily animated for a card game. It's pretty ugly, pretty simply designed. It's a free game with some DLC, but all the DLC is only like $2.60 too, so I would say this is probably more of an abandoned card game than anything else. I don't see how a lot of people are gonna be interested in playing this. Maybe it's a single player game anyways, so you're playing against bots. And it's the only game from this developer, so yeah. When the Star Wars card game can't succeed, guess what? A random developer isn't going to be able to succeed.
Speak your peace.
Let's see. Next we have a game called The Slatter, which I'm not sure if this is actually a real game or a troll game, because it's described as get ready to kill drug dealers, crime bosses, and anyone who stands in your way as you seek revenge for your father's murder. The Slatter is a story-driven first-person stealth action puzzle game that puts you in the shoes of a former cop, Mark Slatter. Which I don't know if there is a word that makes sense, like slatter. I've never heard of anybody called a slatter.
Shadows grow short.
Or Slater, perhaps. It would make more sense as a name if it was Slater. So this looks animated a little bit better. It looks good, which is surprising because I kind of want to say this is an asset flip game and a ripoff of Hitman, and clearly it is some level of a ripoff of a Hitman game, but it may not have all the weirdness of a Hitman game, so that's interesting. This is also the only game from this developer, but it's 81% positive of its 11 user reviews already, having just come out today. Okay. Nope, picked the wrong one.
What a bother.
So I've got to wishlist the Slater and see if we could get some better, more reviews on it and make a better decision. We have a game on Steam called Closer Than You Think. Excellent music, high quality graphics, and an unusual story is all it has to describe itself as. And I would have to say that is a lie, because the drawing art style does not look good to me. It looks like garbage, and they've done nothing to really describe what's going on in this game. It's translated in English and Russian, which tells me it's probably an extremely low effort Russian game. It's 33% off for $2.67. So, and it's just like some visual novel looking game, as best I can tell. So, yeah. Nothing more to really say. Next we have a game called Cube Escape Paradox. And it's rated 98% positive of 168 user reviews. How does it have so many reviews already? I think because this is part of the Rusty Lake series. Cube Escape Paradox will be released together with the accompanying Paradox of Rusty Lake film. And there's certainly, I think, some niche fandom of the Rusty Lake series. I want to get into the Rusty Lake series of its weird, hidden point-and-click adventure games. It's free to play, so I'm gonna put it on my wish list just because it's part of the Rusty Lake series, and I'll cover it. Apparently, if you watch the movie Paradox or Rusty Lake film, you probably see a very similar experience to what the free-to-play game is. So you can make a free-to-play game and advertise your series and get good reviews, as long as you do a good job with it, which is not inherently always the case. In fact, more often than not, it's not the case. Cube Escape Chapter 2 also is available, and to get Chapter 2, the DLC, it's $2.69, so it's not really a free-to-play game. The other games that the Rusty Lake have developed is Rusty Lake Paradise, Rusty Lake Roots, and Rusty Lake Hotel, and each of these are 50% off right now, and the most expensive one is selling for $1.99. So yeah, that is a series I want to get into and cover whenever I start thinking about covering something new instead of just catching up and covering what I've already started to cover. Next game we have on Steam is called Caveman Chuck, which seems like it's a platformer, but I do want to applaud the animation here. While the programming and the animation doesn't look incredibly smooth, every little bit of this is something that has been animated much better than what I usually see. We have a Caveman Chuck, who is your standard Flintstones caveman, and he's fighting a T-Rex dinosaur in at least one boss fight. It's 15% off for $2.54. At the very least, I think this game deserves to be wishlisted just because it's better looking. So I'm gonna be generous and put Caveman Chuck on my wishlist to see what the reviews say. But yeah, almost certainly it will get rejected for just being a platformer, a 2D simplistic platformer game. But it looks way better than most of them. Somebody actually hired an animator this time. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. Square Enix's Visual Works is seeking creators of new entertainment content for futuristic character design, games, cinematic merchandise, and more. Let's see. What does this one do? Coin to my hand. I'd have to cast 3 spells to summon a dragon. I don't have 3 spells to do that.
Shadows grow short.
For the scourge. Do you need a blessing?
Let's see. So Square Enix Visual Works Studio has published a new futuristic character prototype trailer for which it is seeking creators of new entertainment content based on the character design. So basically they're saying, we've created this character. Can you contact us if you're interested in creating a story or promotion? So we've fallen in love with this character that we drew. But we are so creatively bankrupt at Square Enix That's literally what they're saying, is that they're so creatively bankrupt and that they can't even think of something to do with the character that they drew. I wonder if maybe this character is stolen art of some sort, and they stole the character art from somebody, and now they need some coverage to say, well, if we have random people that didn't work for us write the story, then we can claim that we didn't steal the story also. Because I would say this character does look like well, she looks a little bit like the main girl Siri in, well, no, one of the girls looks like Metal Gear Solid, but a female Metal Gear Solid. And Square Enix doesn't own Metal Gear Solid. I would say a lot of this is literally just stolen ideas from Ghost in the Shell. This is hey, I liked the Ghost in the Shell movie in particular, because she's fighting a bunch of robotic dolls that are getting turned into and transforming themselves into kind of monsters. This had to be some kind of pitch where they had no story writer, or they lost their story writer. Yeah, this is clearly stolen concepts from the Western movie of Ghost in the Shell. And I didn't even watch that movie, and I can tell that that's what's going on here. Now, I would say that the main female lead in this trailer doesn't really look anything like the Ghost in the Shell character, but she does definitely look like Solid Snake, a female Solid Snake. That's all they've drawn here. So now they're trying to get some coverage. I would say that's really what this is boiling down to, is we cannot say we're making a Metal Gear Solid fake game. This is an interesting the Solid Snake, female Solid Snake, she got damaged, and so in rebuilding her arm, she lost some clothes to show her cleavage. Yeah, it's almost like the employee who made this was not allowed to make this, but I don't know how you put hundreds of hours of rendering time and animation time into the development of something like this without somebody else noticing higher up. Unless this was just straight up gonzo work where that was being done behind the backs of people. And the character has one blue eye when you're not looking through her cybernetic eye patch. It's really, really ridiculous. Let's see. The character prototype reads, contact us if you're interested in creating, quote, new entertainment content using this character design. We are looking forward to contact from creative studios and production companies worldwide. There are no restrictions on content format, games, cinematics, merchandise, anything is acceptable. So it's almost like they just want to license it. It's like, we don't want to do anything ourselves, but we want to license it, and we want to be able to sue somebody for copyright infringement if they make a game that looks anything like this and they didn't license it. This may literally just be patent trolling. There's no need to adapt the story or feel of the prototype movie. The user is free to create any character, story, or background. quote, "This is not a promotional contest nor a recruitment for Square Enix or Visual Works staff. The purpose of this project is to foster the creation of new content based on a character design and solely for commercial use. Square Enix Co. Limited, we hereafter owns all rights of this movie and the character design. In order to exploit our copyrighted materials, you need to obtain our approval." Yes, this is literally copyright trolling. Square Enix saw something that looks something like this in the works, and now they are going to try to claim that their art is prior art and sue somebody. It's literally going to come down to a lawsuit. It's either copyright trolling or licensing of the laziest factor. This is really, really insane. I have never seen this happen in the video game industry, and I'm not being hyperbolic about that. I don't know how they'd even win in a lawsuit here, because this is literally just stolen ideas left and right. There's nothing unique in any of this that I think stands out. Moving on, Deck 9 Games is developing a new title for Square Enix. Life is Strange Before the Storm Studio, not the main company that did Life is Strange, has announced a continued partnership. I don't know if that inherently means it's another Life is Strange game or if it's something else. The partnership with Deck 9 has been a huge success, says Square Enix. The opportunity to work with Deck 9 on another game was an easy decision, although we're keeping the project details under wraps for now. So yeah, basically not news.
I comply.
And both of these announcements were probably from the Tokyo Game Show. I suppose it's possible that Square Enix put out that trailer because they literally had nothing else that they could talk about at the Tokyo Game Show and they didn't want to embarrass themselves. I could see that too. Just a blanket decision and to say, well, let's put something out. Let's do something, even if it is going to be just a trailer for a product that doesn't exist. Oh, I played the wrong card. Let's see. Gematsu has an article. Sega announces Kimono Friends game. Kimono Friends is an anime. It's sort of childlike anime about animals running around in a world that used to be run by humans, but all the humans died out. It's not as dark as, well, on the face of it, it's not very dark, but there are some dark undertones to the story.
Pain, speak to me.
Right away.
Let's see. Gematsu has an article. Wild Arms Million Memories launches September 26th in Japan. This is going to be on what console? Google Play and iOS. So it's a cell phone game. I don't think I've heard about the Wild Arms series in a while. And let's see, where are we now? I think I still got a ton of games to talk about. It's been another hour. We are relatively in good position, I would say. Like, all I need to do is play 11 more priest cards, win or lose. It'd be nice if I won, but that doesn't really matter. And then I'm over to the Asian account, and then we'll just have to struggle with some more tavern balls on the Asian account. That's going to be it for this recording. Thanks for all the people on the chat, too. It's kind of died down now, but it was going good for a while there. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, September 21st, and I just need to play a couple of priest cards and then I'll be done. I suppose I'm hoping to be productive this weekend, but I'm not inherently planning on being productive this weekend. I'd like to get some other things non-YouTube related done, but I also need to play some Borderlands too and start recording that for November. We've got a lot of games. We had an overage of games on Wednesday. We've cut back and gone on a diet as far as unimportant news. So theoretically that would have sped things up, but it seems like a lot of news has just happened recently, so even that is kind of slowing us down. So let's get into it. We have a game on Steam called Witch Thief. You play as a snarky witch thief on a quest to steal all the magic she can possibly can. Naturally, those who have magic don't want to give it up, so she does what she does best. This is kicking in front of the door and taking it all anyway. This looks like it's tagged as an adventure action bullet hell game. It's very, very pink. Very, very pink. It's not a flying around in a spaceship 2D side-scrolling or scrolling to the top bullet hell game. It is more in the lines of at least some of the Nier Automata fights, where you're in a 3D environment fighting other characters and they're shooting just projectiles in a 3D environment all over you. Looking at this, it seems like there's some repetition on the enemies you'll fight. Also, this animation style is kind of weirdly Western for something that, if you told me the name of the game was just Witch Thief, I would immediately imagine it just anime-esque characters. This is an English-only game. Too. So that seems kind of weird.
Right away.
Let's play this game too. 10% off for $17.99. I really want to see what else this developer's done that's got no reviews. Let's see.
Access denied.
Made a game called Attrition Tactical Fronts. They made a game called Puzzle Puppers. They made a game called Warden Melody of the Overgrowth. All of them were rated positively, but all of them look very different to this game too. I have to wishlist this game. Like, there's something very weird about it. It's a Western style witch, or which is to say more of a pre-Harry Potter-esque European style witch. It's the cutesy Halloween witches. It's not the spooky ugly witches. Let's do this and then do this.
Right away.
Then do this. I could say Witch Thief though probably might just be a boss rush game. Like, it may only be an hour or two of gameplay. But yeah, there's no reason to reject this game. I gotta keep an eye on it, see if people check it out and play it. And can't really put a recommendation on it one way or the other. Next we have a game called Gladio, Gladio. It says Gladio is a small experimental game attempting to innovate first-person melee combat systems, which is to say it's a poorly programmed asset flip game of sword combat. It seems like it's trying to be pretty bloody and low polygonish of sorts. And destructible environments. I could see potentially with more effort this game being something like super hot, but as it is, it's $4.99 with no discount, and it just looks too experimental to be realistically considered a game. Well, at least a game that should be on Steam and for sale. I guess inherently also I need to recognize I don't care if a game is on Steam or some other place. I just want high quality games should be on sale, other low quality games shouldn't be. If you want to put them on your website, if you want to show them off, if you want to put them on itch.io as an advertisement, that's fine. But once you get to Steam, which I consider the Walmart of storefronts, you expect a ready for prime time style game, something that is sellable, that is in a polished format, not something that is a tech demo. If you're holding a dragon, swap its attack, restore 4 to everybody. Mech.
What is my purpose?
See, I could swap this down to 1 health and kill it, but I'd lose a minion. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article. Earth Defense Force 5 launches December 11th in North America and Europe. Earth Defense Force is the giant aliens, spiders, and creatures attacking the world. It's a pretty decent concept of a game, often not implemented very well. It will be out for the PlayStation 4 via the PS Store. It's not coming out, I think, in any physical releases, at least right now. The idea of the Earth Defense Force series of games is better than, I think, the implementation.
Oh, a shadow.
Yep. Can I do all of this? No, I can't. Not in one turn. I'm getting sleepy. It's too early to be sleepy. Wow. Close some of these tabs because they're just talking about things I've already talked about. Well, here's a interesting story, I guess YouTube related. A Minecraft crafter called Mumbo Jumbo, M-U-M-B-O-J-U-M-B-O, on YouTube. Apparently, according to his own Twitter, which I don't have a great reason why I'm even listening to his Twitter. I think I followed him and then muted him, but then he tweeted Team YouTube, which I also follow. I saw it because of that reason. apparently somebody has been just stealing every little bit about his YouTube channel, like his channel art, his name, his I think what they've done is they've changed the jumbo, the O at the bottom, to a 0 in jumbo, and they are just taking every single one of his videos and uploading it to their channel and just stealing it, which shouldn't be allowed. It should be just caught automatically, but apparently it is definitely not caught automatically. Let's see. Double. Should have played that first. In the turn there. So yeah, that Team YouTube said, hey, we'll get in contact you. But yeah, last thing any YouTuber needs is somebody just stealing all their content and putting it on a different YouTube channel. And as a small YouTuber, it's like, I can't really go spend the time to fill out DMCA complaints, and YouTube's not going to really respond to them if something like that happened to me. Like, we really need YouTube support to be able to do the very basic thing, which they can do for you, certainly. They tell me if I upload the same video twice that this is a duplicate video, and thus it can't... the upload failed. So I'm not sure why they couldn't do the same for other people.
Well played.
Let's see.
Not too quickly.
Next game we have on Steam is called Crosscode, a 2D action RPG, 16-bit Super NES style animation. I would probably agree with that. It looks better than a lot of the 8-bit games.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah. Crosscode is tagged as an action RPG, pixel graphics RPG, 2D. It seems a little bit fast-paced, so it's not like a turn-based RPG element. So yeah, Crosscode looks interesting. Interesting. They're showing off, maybe my Steam Enhanced is showing off some widescreen certifications. Crosscode is 15% off for $16.99, and it looks good enough to justify putting it on the wish list and keeping an eye on it. Like, certainly questions will come down to like the actual let's see, if I play this, what does that do? Nothing. Just hit everything, I guess. Yeah, Crosscode right now is overwhelmingly positive with 96% positive reviews of 2,638, and it came out today, so that's really, really high reviews, which is kind of suspicious on itself, but I don't know what to say about that. Next we have a game on Steam called Stone, S-T-O-N-E. A hungover koala detective, Stone, wakes up to find his Chuki, Alex, has been kidnapped? What's a Chuki? You need to find out what happened. It sounds like it's an Australian game language or something. It's only in English. They say it's rated M17 for sexual themes, drug reference, strong language, M17 for everything. This is actually somewhat 3D animated though, so this doesn't feel like this is a scam. It just feels like it's probably a Leisure Suit Larry-esque type game. Except for you're playing as a koala bear. And what's funny is it's the only game this developer has made so far. If you want the basic version, it is $14.99. There's an art book and a screenplay. I almost feel like this isn't a video game at all, but it seems to be implied that it's a video game. Like it looks like it's interactive of some sort. So Stone has to also go to my wish list and just keep an eye on it. That's really where so many of these games fall down to. Now we're moving over to the Asian account. And in December, we are going to spend extra time just going through my wish list and saying, alright, all these games from 2016 or earlier have never gotten any reviews. I'm just going to remove them from the wish list. Like, they've failed to catch anyone's attention, and thus they've failed to have any relevance to reality. Like, there could be amazingly good games out there nobody has played, but I'm not going to be able to filter through all the garbage to find the one in a million hidden gem. Now this is incredibly infuriating. I need now 1 extra Tavern Brawl, 40 odd cost cards, and some more Tavern Brawls. And in the post-game show, the silent post show Wednesday that we brought back, I got this card pack, so let's go ahead and just open that now. I doubt any of those are new cards. Let's see, so we can play whatever we want, I guess. So I'm going to stick with the Warrior because that was the one class on this Tavern Brawl that seemed like it really could potentially be a good a winning class to play. Interesting. Right, so we have a game on Steam, and we have so many games on Steam still, called My Brother Rabbit. It's a casual indie adventure hidden object game. Seems like it is hand-drawn hidden object game. I feel like I've seen this game before, so I think somebody probably talked about it before it came out. It's a very surreal game, very childlike. I think having more of a story to a hidden object game instead of them being generic bad stories as they often are is an interesting idea, certainly. I'm not sure if going weird is the right direction, because when you're playing a point-and-click adventure or hidden object game and weirdness, that's gonna potentially make it more difficult. Yeah, this game has been reviewed by a considerable number of people, and I guess maybe came out earlier on other platforms because it's brand new today. On PC, it has its own third-party EULA. It's $14.99. That's really expensive for a hidden object game, but you gotta at least put it on the wish list and see what people say. It has only like 3 user reviews right now, so a considerable amount of the games I'm seeing today are going to end up on the wish list. Next we have a game on Steam called Stockpile. Stockpile is an economic stock market themed game that's all about insider trading. It seems more like a arcadey style of gameplay, and instead of being something that would be closer to a realistic perspective of what stock trading or insider trading would be like. So it probably is a little bit more fun because of that. But looking at the screen, it doesn't seem like too much happens. It's 30% off for $4.89, and I'm thinking this is one you could skip pretty easily. Let's see. They made one game that was mixed reviews, and one game that was mostly positive, and then one game that was mixed. So that they're more in the field of mixed reviews.
What now?
Yeah, I really don't think that this is an entertaining enough looking game to justify making it to the wish list. Yeah, this feels more like a board game that's been turned into a digital game, and often those don't work too well. Here's TechRaptor reviewing that game, Stone, that I just looked at. Let's just skip down to the bottom and see what they think about it. 5.5 average. Stone's writing can swerve between fantastic and terrible at the drop of a hat. Considering that is the most important part of the game, it's a shame it couldn't be more consistent in quality. Let's see. Pros, interesting central mystery, sharp sense of humor, great soundtrack. Cons, strange side plot, occasional bad writing, lifeless environments. So yeah, Stone seems like it's average. I'm not sure I'm gonna just trust TechRaptor about it though, so I'll keep that in mind when I look back at it and see what the actual player is saying. Let's see. Taunt. Plus the attack. And Gametsu has an article, Banner of the Maid gameplay features trailer. Banner of the Maid looks like it's a Japanese RPG of some sort. Let's see, it says it's coming out for the PS4, Switch, and PC in 2018. Yeah, it looks like it's more of a tactical turn-based style RPG game. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad though. So when it has a real release date, I'll keep an eye out for Banner of the Maid, Lifesteal Rush, Lifesteal. Next we have a game on Steam called Coffee Trainer VR, which I'm fairly certain is a low effort VR game about making coffee. And honestly, I don't believe it has anything to do with making coffee. Well, I mean, it's a Japanese game, so maybe this is some kind of training material that is now being sold as a game. In VR, so maybe this really is some training for working in. Oh, it's not even Japanese; it's Korean. English not supported, free to play, so they're not even making money off of it. I bet there's a decent amount of Korean coffee houses. And this might be an interesting way to tell people how to train their employees. You don't really need, I think, a ton of training to work at a coffee shop, since it's a relatively simplistic thing to do compared to, I suppose, working at a fine dining restaurant as a chef. See, we've got somebody on the chat who put a bunch of Chinese or Japanese characters. Please speak in English or don't speak at all. I can't moderate what I can't read. We have a game on Steam called Yokai Match. That's Y-O-K-A-I. It's an RPG maker horror game, is what it's been tagged as, adventure indie. Suffers from dark screenshot syndrome. It is an RPG maker looking game. I don't think just the idea of a yokai mask is enough to interest me. It's only in simplified Chinese. It's not even in English. 30% off for $1.39. I don't know why they put it in English in the name if it's only going to be in simplified Chinese. Like, just that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Put it in simplified Chinese completely. Gematsu has a article. The new Pro Yakyu Spirit series title has been announced for the PS4 and Vita. That's YAKYUU Spirits. This is baseball, as best I can tell. I don't know if that is the best baseball game, Japanese baseball game that's made, or the worst. Could be something in between, certainly, too. Let's see, mechs, and mechs. So we do this, and then do this. In return, Gematsu has an article, Azure Lane Crosswave. Has some information that came out about it. The Tokyo Game Show in particular is going to be very bad about just little tidbits of information, little screenshots. Seems like Azure Lane Crosswave is nowhere close to being announced. Another victory not collected, but we are making some playing some odd cards. We may have to do a silent post show after today too, just to get these last bit of victories. We have a game on Steam called Dream Card Builder, which is very positive of 286 reviews. So there's something about this game that people like. Like at the very first part of this, it seems rather simplistic and really rather silly, but I can only assume has enough car frames and bodies and enough physics in it to entertain the people who would be entertained by it. To me, this does not look like an interesting game. It looks like it's just a physics simulator. Maybe it's just way better than any of the other awful asset flip physics simulators out there, but it still doesn't, to me, look great. But what can I say? At such a high review rating of, how do you get, let's see, 286 fake reviews? I mean, well, also though apparently this game must have been in early access because it's coming out today out of early access. Let's see. This, I don't want to say about it. I want to just say the price. It's 15% off for $12.74. I'm gonna pass on it. Like, I have no interest whatsoever to run a simulation game where I build the general appearance of a car. If I was gonna play a game about building a car, I'd want every single screw. I'd want every single bolt. I'd want every single bit and piece realistically shown so that I could say to myself after playing that game that I could actually put a car together from piece by piece, which I think I probably couldn't do that right now. I probably could get really close and try and figure it out, but there's definitely some things that I would not know about if I tried to put a card together. Moving on, we have a game called Pure Station, My Tetsu Pure Station.
You have made
That's MAITETSU, and then the rest of the description is all in, I think, Japanese characters. It's some kind of visual novel of sorts. Yeah, it's in Japanese, simplified Chinese, and traditional Chinese. I was getting the feeling that this is either a bunch of little anime kids running a train station, or the little anime characters are the human personification of trains.
That served no purpose.
Just squelch this guy. Yeah, it looks very anime-y, very cutesy. It's not getting tagged as anything that seems offensive, but the English language is not supported anyway, so it's 40% off for $14.99. If you can read Japanese. Let's see. +1/+1.
My shield for Argus.
Return. Komatsu has an article, Lapis X Labyrinth gameplay. Looks like this is coming out for the PlayStation 4 and the Switch November 29th in Japan. Looks like it's a simplistic RPG. Cute, chibi, small characters in the RPG.
Wanna see the voodoo I do?
And turn. Game Master has an article, Catherine full body details, story, puzzle action in the 3 Catherines. Some more details on all of that. I think Catherine full body really is just kind of a ultimate edition of Catherine and not really a continuation or sequel of Catherine. I'm not sure if there really is much of a continuation or sequel you can do. It's a very weird game, but very niche. I love the game too. I think mostly for its gameplay. Yeah. And platforming.
What now?
Which is certainly a little weird on that one too. So yeah, this is a whole article on is just like describing the characters. Catherine Full Body is due out for the PS4 and Vita February 14th, 2019 in Japan. A Western release is also planned, but it hasn't been dated. There's a lot of talk about it though. More talk than it probably deserves. We have a game on Steam called Home Security. A story of a recluse's sister to protect her brother. That's not even an English sentence. Her room is bright, comma, but inside of the house is dim. She always feels like there's someone watching her, and no space here, and need to push herself to walk in. This is just a garbage description. What this looks like is the new asset flips that look really, really good have certainly come again to let's see, am I ready to kill that guy? So this is like a wander around a asset flipped house and gets jump scares with a, I will fully admit, spooky looking horrific character that's wandering around. It's very, very horrific looking, but also it's kind of just missing polish.
My duty is to the king! For the king!
Let's go and just kill that. Home Security is $4.99, and the lack of polish in the description and the fact that, yeah, it looks a lot prettier than it probably should be. The horror games where you're stuck in a house is as bad as the asset flip games where you're just in a open field fighting and shooting. So yeah, I'm not gonna reward Home Security and put it on the wish list. We talked about this. We still haven't gotten a full confirmation from Telltale Direct that Telltale is shutting down, but there's evidence, certainly, and confirmation that everybody, all projects have been canceled and everybody was let go. I don't know how you don't call that shutting down the company at that point. Let's see.
Before me!
Just hit that. Okay, here's update 3 from Gamma Sutra. The official Telltale Twitter account announced a majority studio closure in a tweet. It has been an incredible, difficult year for Telltale as we work to set the company on a new course. Unfortunately, we ran out of time trying to get there. We realized we released some of your best content this year and received a tremendous amount of positive feedback, but ultimately that did not translate into sales. With a heavy heart, we watch our friends leave today to spread our brand of storytelling across the games industry. And, you know, playing The Walking Dead Season 3, there was a lot of greediness in that game. So I don't know if this is an actual true statement that they were suffering by not getting the sales, or if it's more of a case that they just absolutely wanted more money. Like, it kind of feels like they just wanted more money non-stop, that there was just, you know, investors involved that wanted more money when they couldn't possibly make more money, being a niche product. The tweet also confirms that a small group of 25 employees are staying on to fulfill the company's obligations to its board and partners. So it really just boils down to, in my head, they didn't want, the board in particular did not want to invest in developing a new engine. Like, I don't know how it breaks down to anything different than that. We're not going to spend any money to invest into the new engine to run to keep the company going. Instead, we're just going to shutter the company and sell off it piecemeal, I'm sure, is the next step. Like, what you're not hearing in this instance is a issue of you're not hearing an issue of Telltale being underwater with loans or having any problems there. Let's see.
Magic neutralized.
And that. And then the turn. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll probably have more information by Monday. Here we have what looks like a Chinese-only RPG maker game called The Cage on Steam. It's 25% off for 74 cents. At least the price is right. Of course, I can't play it since it's Chinese-only language. Let's see. Go ahead and hit that. And that.
What are you hiding? Surrender imminent.
We have a game called Fruit Pop on Steam, which seems like a very basic bubble in reverse game. No, I guess this would be closer to a Peggle clone. You don't see a ton of Peggle clones. It's free to play, so I guess the price is right, but it doesn't look particularly interesting. So we can move on there. Just trying to move on in general. I still need victories, by the way, so.
It's playtime. Job done.
We have a game on Steam that's in early access called Loathing Heart. It's tagged as an action-adventure indie game. In this psychological environmental experience, you have to protect your heart from getting harmed. Doing so will evolve a short but impactful story around yourself. Protagonists our social system and the way we interact with other people. I've seen some other games like this that are just weird wrong think where where it's like you can't consider or listen to any negativity in your life. It's I think a lot of that is The Secret and some other occult ways of thinking, and a lot of it might just be SJW's ways of thinking too. All this game really is it seems like it's a bullet hell avoidance game with some simplistic graphics. It's actually kind of pretty, but it's very monotone in the color set. Doesn't seem like it's much of a game. It has 4 achievements. It's 16% off for $2.51. I think that's way too expensive for a game like this.
Blood Reaver Gul'dan.
So let's close that tab.
A bargain forged in blood and shadow. I will burn this world and rule its ashes.
Did I get a victory? I think I did. We have a game on Steam called Spellrune Realms of Portals. Looks like it's some kind of card-based deck builder game. Early access strategy RPG. Looks cartoonily animated. Looks pretty good. There are, unfortunately, now about 4 or 5 card-based deck builder games out there that have the potential to actually need to be played. So that is something for me to consider also, but that would not make me decide against wishlisting Spellrune Realm of Portals. It's 10% off for $8.99, which is pretty expensive, but until I can get some user reviews, I'm willing to keep it on the list. Let's see. If I do this, and then do this, that works pretty well. We already talked about Twitch abruptly blocked in China and delisted from the iOS App Store, but let's see if there's something. Yeah, there's no details on why it was blocked from China. I'm sure Twitch barely knows the reason, or even the reason they're being told. So, yeah, we already talked for the most part about that.
Back to work.
Run for it!
TechRaptor has this article, the Dead Rising studio Capcom in Vancouver shut down. We already talked about that one, I think, so there's not anything really new to say there. We have a game on Steam called Bowman vs. Zombies, all one word. Interestingly enough, the animation is better than the spelling in this Unity game. That's kind of the problem though, is that you can do a low effort game and not be able to spell, basically. You just need to be able to program, or have somebody that can program. Unless people think it's the new trend or fad to misspell things. Bowman vs. Zombies still looks like a very simplistic asset flip of a game. Early access, $2.99.
So many bloody decisions.
We have a new Vicky Spotter game, Vicky Spotter Professions, so jobs. Vicky Spotter is a kids-friendly game, or allegedly kids-friendly game where you spot the differences, and they make a new one about every month. It's 33% off for 66 cents. At the very least, I would say that the games seem to be priced right and not too bad on a parent's pocketbook.
You are not welcome here. Again! No problem.
And in return. Next, we have a game on Steam called Stalingrad Abatis, A-B-A-T-I-S. And it seems like it's showing real-world pictures. This might be a troll game. No, you know what it looks like? Is it looks like it's a spooky house asset flip horror game. Again. Let's see. It's an English, German, and Russian game, rated M. 10% off for $1.79. Yeah, seems like it's a low-effort horror game. Moving on. Let's see, what am I trying to do?
Before me.
Let's see, we have a game on Steam called The Amazonian Dead. Let's see. This looks like it's a top-down run for your life simulator. It really does look like it's just a infinite running for your life game where you're weaving back and forth. Alright, now the trailer's showing me some slight stealth mechanics. The camera angle is horrible. And this looks like it's probably just an asset flip game. Even though it might have a little bit more polish on it. It's 10% off for $10.79.
What now?
I'm trying really hard to find anything that would justify. Let's see. Should have played that first.
It's cold.
Hostile detected.
Yeah, I cannot find anything that justifies even wishlisting the Amazonian Dread. Like, they just sold itself very badly. Gematsu has an article. Ubisoft announces Sports Party for the Switch, a party game collection of 6 outdoor sports. Let's see if we can get a list of them. Frisbee, jet ski, basketball, golf, skateboarding, and beach tennis. But no volleyball. Interesting. Or basketball. Interesting. Like, all the non-popular sports to make into video games.
Scurvy dog.
Let's see. Gematsu has an article. Troy Baker was not contracted to reprise his role in Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. The actor was quote-unquote gutted, he said on Twitter. He played the character Yuri, Y-U-R-I, Lowell, L-O-W-L, in the original release of Tales of Vesperia. What does that really mean? It may not really mean much of anything, because they may just be using his old voice acting, or it could mean they didn't like his voice acting, or they thought somebody else could do it better. Like there definitely is a lot of things that could mean. Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition is out for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on January 11th, 2019. So we'll get more details there. Tech Raptor has a review of The Gardens Between, which is a time manipulating puzzle game that looks pretty interesting. Let's see what they have to say about it. Scrolling down, they give it a 9.0 amazing. While it may seem like nothing more than a Braid clone, Gardens Between is anything but creative and evocative. Other than the length, there's little to dislike here. And frankly, if you're making a Braid clone at this point, that's not enough of an issue because Braid has been out for a long time.
Answer for your crimes.
Let's see. Pros are gorgeous art, touching story, consistently unique puzzles. Cons are the short length. So I was pretty positive on The Gardens Between anyways. Good to get some confirmation from my bias there, or my presumption. I don't know if it's a bias or just a presumption because I haven't played the game. We have a game on Steam called Quixzel Rush Halloween Party. That's Quixzel Rush. I have no idea what this seems to be. Just a very simplistic game where a bar of things comes scrolling down and you have to click on the positive things and not click on the positive things. Some kind of number mathematic game. It seems like a one-screen Unity style game. It's too simplistic. Let's see. There we go. In turn. Quixzel Rush Halloween Party is 40% off for 59 cents. That's part of a bundle of 41 other games for $8.81, so that tells me it's probably not a good quality game. Let's close that.
Your moonlit shadows rise to meet you.
It's playtime.
GameIndustry.biz had this interesting story. The Envision esports staff will be paid their outstanding salaries if Dot Esports pulls 2 articles, says former CEO. And then update, Arthur Minikov says invoices have been sent to pay players allegedly owed thousands of dollars. So apparently the former studio of a now defunct 2 Overwatch team continues to hold out payments owed to the ex-staff, saying they will only pay the outstanding salaries if Dot Esports removes 2 published articles from its site. Yeah, so some nastiness there that probably didn't go his way. So he said, yeah, we better just pay these people before they have a lawsuit on their hands. Because that's probably where that was all going to boil down to. Let's see. So kill 2. Like I don't have enough mana to play all these, so let's just do this.
Answer for your crime.
That. And then that. And that. That. And play that.
I must choose.
I'm just gonna burn a ridiculous amount of cards.
Ready or not, here I come.
Let's see, we have a game on Steam called Jet Island, which seems to be like a VR game where you're racing on a hoverboard on kind of an asset flipped asteroid planet in space. Looks very rough. Requires VR, it's $19.99. It's probably extremely slow. Seems like the idea of mixing a hoverboard together with a VR is just asking for trouble. Like really just asking for trouble. Causing motion sickness. So yeah, $20. Close that tab. I have a game called Stones of Yalmarith. That's Y-A-L-M-R-I-T-H. It seems kind of fancy, like a puzzle platformer. I'm not sure how much of this is I'd call an asset flip and how much of this I'd call like an actual polished effort. Like, I'd say this is too much effort to just call it an asset flip. You have to get into the flip part of that and ask yourself, would somebody just looking for money bother to do this much effort? And if the answer is no, you can't call it a flip. For the most part, this seems like it is a platforming game with small amounts of puzzles, but enough to be interesting. This game is also in Arabic, and it looks like an Arabic game. It's $11.99, so that makes it slightly more interesting to me. It's the first game from this developer. Kind of expensive, but I'll put it on the wish list and see if some reviews come out. Let's see, destroy all other minions with 2 attack or less. Right. Let's see, I literally can't play anything.
Before me.
In turn. We have a game on Steam called Pushing Through. It's a horribly MS Paint looking block pusher. Haven't seen a lot of MS Paint looking games, so I'm glad this is the first one, and we've been through so many. It's free to play, but it looks like garbage. How are we doing as far as progress? We're still trying to play odd cost cards. And we are still trying to get one more Tavern Brawl with somebody. Actually, I need 2 more Tavern Brawls. Yeah, I can see myself going into a post-game show and just really just struggling to get the absolutely necessary Tavern Brawls that need to happen before midnight tonight. Yeah, we don't need to talk about Nutaku's new games. Let's. There's one called Panties of Rage. Nutaku being a sex game only storefront. Their games aren't really worth talking about, frankly. And frankly, with Steam's new uncensored policy, if it all goes well, Nutaku is really not going to have a reason to exist anymore. They'll start just publishing all the games they develop directly on Steam. We have a game called Wizard's Tourney, which looks like it's a top-down local multiplayer fighting game where you play as wizards. It's 100% positive with 10 user reviews, which is probably not enough user reviews. It looks alright. But not amazingly good either. The thing about just top-down fighting of 4 players on different platforms is that's never going to be impressive enough to me to make me want to play a game, and that's all it really has. Controller is needed for multiplayer. 2 players can use the same controller by activating the shared controller mode. Wizard's Tourney is $9.99 with no discount. And I bet this is the first game from this developer, so yeah. Close that tab. Of course, also there's a point that I just would not ever have 3 other people playing with me, so no doubt I'm not interested in those type of games. Next game we have on Steam is called Waifu Bay Resort. I would say using the phrase waifu to potentially immediately pushes me on my guard and says, okay, this is going to be a low effort game because they didn't even bother to think of a good name for their game. Let's see. It's tagged as sexual content, indie, strategy, relaxing. It doesn't look like it's really even a dating or visual novel game. It looks more along the lines of some kind of resource management game. I don't know how you play this. The animation style looks like a Western animator trying to do anime, or just bad anime. I think inherently I'm just gonna have to start calling it bad anime style, and it's too long of a phrase. Seems like there's 3 characters, 3 different hair colors, and their bust size may slightly vary, but I'd say only by potentially 1 cup at most. So not a lot of variety in the characters, which is often a problem with a lot of these games. They are just not, they're not hitting the full gambit of people who might be interested in it because they're not doing the different character styles. Yeah, it seems like this is just a management game where you build up the resort. A low effort game, hidden, and trying to be sold on sex when I don't think there really is. There's a picture low on that shows 8 characters, I believe, 7 characters, but I only saw 3. And looking at these 7 characters, they're still, for the most part, the exact same body type. It's 30% off for $5.59. Let's see if this developer's developed anything else that anybody would be interested in. They have made other things, and I inherently wouldn't call them a troll developer. I'd just call them a bad developer. Like, nothing's been reviewed well. There we go. So that's one of the Tavern Brawls done. We need just one more to go, and then I get the odd cost card some other way. Gematsu has an article, Varnier of the Dragon Star. It has some gameplay from the Tokyo Game Show. Let's see, it is due out for the PS4 on October 11th in Japan. So, looking at the release dates for the games that were announced at the Tokyo Game Show, I'm running into the belief, at least, that around October is the big time when people buy games in Japan, instead of waiting till Black Friday, November 25th, or Christmas. They seem to be a little bit earlier, which, okay, that's good to learn. It also implies that video game buyers in Japan are way more susceptible to hype and will buy it on day one a lot more than, say, people in the United States or the rest of the world. We've got a game on Steam called Parkour Polygon. Looks like it's a Super Meat Boy clone with just simplistic polygons. $2.99. I see nothing there that interests me, so I'm gonna ignore that and close the tab. I should have probably attacked this guy. Next we have a game called Turn the Bridge, which is like a mobile game, I'm pretty sure, clone, where you just are tapping one button to toggle bridges that a character that I assume is always moving forward. It's the line dancer style of game.
What now?
Let's, I guess, play that. And in the turn, I guess I should have probably played a coin and played that. Yeah, Turn the Bridge doesn't interest me. It looks just like it's a mobile phone port to PC. 25% off for 74 cents. I guess it's a good thing we don't see a ridiculous amount of other cell phone port type games coming to PC. We see a lot of them, but it's not as many as I assume are getting dumped on the iOS and Apple Store, or anywhere close. Like this next game we have on Steam is called Energy Nodes. It's definitely another cell phone port game. It looks horrible, really bad. It doesn't even look like they adjusted the textures correctly. It's 25% off for 74 cents and it's blurry. The first time I've ever seen a game and looked at the screenshot and thought, well, boy, is that really blurry. I shouldn't have attacked with that. Next we have a game called Rise Up, which is a jumping game, just platforming up and down style game. Cell phone port, basically 25% off for 74 cents. Let's see. And let's keep on attacking. We have a game on Steam called Liberty Prime, which is tagged as an action-adventure RPG game. I'd say it's a top-down hack-and-slash style game. It looks pretty fast-paced and actually kind of interesting to play. It has bits of a Dark Souls roll and dash feel to it, and a Diablo 2 roll and feel to it, to the point where I kind of suspect that maybe it stole art assets from Diablo 2, because I'm seeing a health and mana orb, which I don't know if you can just draw that pretty easily. Probably could.
Immortality.
You're fighting dragons and serpents and all kinds of big monsters. Let's see, it's English only, early access, $14.99. I think this game needs to be on my wish list because I need to see what people think about it. It looks really good in the trailer. Let's see. Discard all weapons.
For the master.
Next we have a game on Steam called Cat Finder. Everyone likes mummies, cats, and beautiful concubines of the pharaoh, at least some of these three. And the thumbnail for this is a mummy girl in scantily clad clothing with blue skin. But I have no idea what this game really is. Seems like it might be a match 3 game, but not really. it seems like you... I really don't know what this is. Is it some kind of wave-based tower defense style game? Like a linear wave-based tower defense type game is what I'm guessing. And again, the animation is kind of blurry, so I'm having a hard time to justify playing this crazy looking game, even though I kind of want to. Let's see. If we do this, and play that, and do that. I played out of order, but
For the master.
that's not too bad. Let's see, what else has this developer made? Nothing. And this game is tagged with sexual content, casual, violent, and nudity. So, I don't know, I guess I'm gonna put it on the wish list, but I think this was probably a low effort game. Cat Fender. Next game we have on Steam is called Final Theory. It's an indie strategy turn-based space game. Looks very good looking. That is a high requirement for any of these space games, 4X games. Unfortunately, they never seem to be able to catch my attention. Like, I don't know how I could ever get into one of these games.
You brought me back for the master.
Wicked. Strike.
Just keep on attacking. Like, Final Theory could be the best game ever. It's 10% off for $13.49. And I still won't play it just because it's a space game. It's also the first game from this developer, so it probably isn't the best game ever. But whatever. Moving on, we have a game called Orion Sandbox Enhanced, which looks like a Terraria clone. It's $1.99. Whatever it really is, I don't care. It looks like a Terraria clone. And yeah, the only other game this developer made was mixed reviews. So, there's a GameIndustry.biz article here that I wanted to talk about why I'm not going to talk about it. There you go, I just ruined him ever summoning that character.
Strike.
Need to kill this character though, pretty quickly. GameIndustry.biz has an article, Overwatch League gets its first female coach. Which is definitely a good thing, but isn't newsworthy. Like, would I ever personally, report on any of the other Overwatch Leagues getting coaches? Because the Overwatch League is pretty new. They've all gotten new coaches, probably relatively quickly. Since I really wouldn't, in all honesty, report this if it was a male coach, why would I give special treatment to a female coach? Like, I shouldn't. I wouldn't. And I'm not going to. So, in reporting that, I'm also reporting on this article, but I'm not going to give any details. Like, it's not something that I care about. Oh, speaking of, things I don't care about. There was a creator on the rise on the YouTube gaming trending tab, and it was this woman named Erin Plays, E-R-I-N. I watched a couple of her videos. I found them short and boring. I found that she wasn't saying anything interesting and would often get off topic and rant, and that's something I guess I kind of pride myself to not get too off topic and not rant too much about. And I gave her a decent effort, but in the end I had to say no, that she was not entertaining enough or informative enough to add to my wish list. Why she's on the rise, I have no idea. If that's really the kind of criticism of video game coverage. She was also playing NES games, but she was barely spending 10 minutes playing each game. It's certainly not the kind of content that I would or could create. So different strokes for different folks. If a lot of people do like Erin Plays, I guess that's fine. It just tells me that the kind of content I make and my kind of fans are probably not the kind of the main kind of fans that exist on YouTube.
Energy.
Do I need to do anything right now? No. We have a free-to-play MOBA game on Steam called Heavy Metal Machines. It looks like it's a racing around in cars and shooting each other style game. It's free-to-play, but also it doesn't look amazingly interesting. It's rated pretty positively, to be fair. Mostly positive, 72% of 2,094 reviews. I don't know if a MOBA racing car game works as a concept. Play this.
Let's move quickly.
TechRaptor has an article. Home Sweet Home will haunt your consoles on October 9th. So the Xbox One, Xbox One X, PSVR, and PlayStation 4 will each get their own versions of this horror game, Home Sweet Home, which looks like it's animated better than most of the low-effort horror games that are out there.
Access denied.
I fight.
Although, to be fair, Home Sweet Home is only slightly better looking than a lot of these low-effort horror games. In fact, I may very well have looked at Home Sweet Home and rejected it. A lot of these games really just boil down to a bunch of jump scares, and if you're not gonna fall for the jump scares, as I probably won't, then you've really got no kind of experience that you're gonna have with them.
Deploying countermeasures.
We have a game called Jump Stream, a competitive platform built in a real time by an audience, which that's never going to work because it requires too many people to play it. It's an interesting concept. You can see that people are playing and then other people are clicking on squares on the grid to make platforms appear or disappear. Requires you to use Mixer. Free to play. Interesting concept, but you need some kind of AI bot that would make the platforms at random instead of just the audience doing it. You need to, at the very least, have a small group of friends be able to play the game if no other person on the planet is playing. And there probably would be a relative split between the number of people that want to play the audience part of the game and want to play the actual game. Gematsu has an article, Momodora series spiritual successor sequel, Minoria, M-I-N-O-R-I-A, announced for the Switch and PC. Momodora is a niche, pretty good, what would you call it, a platformer, RPG game? 2D, side-scrolling, I'd say platformer. Would probably be the best hack and slash. The thing about it is it's been Momodora's speedrun, and it's a pretty good game, and it's pretty popular. So when Minoria comes out in 2019, that will be another thing that goes on my wish list. Actually, I don't think I own Momodora, so that might be a good excuse for me to catch up. Oh, I played that out of order.
Let's move quickly. For justice.
We have a game on Steam called Maximum Action, a brutal and satisfying physics-based first-person shooter influenced by Hong Kong action and other old-school titles, is what it says. To me, it looks like it's probably just a slightly polished asset flip type game. You can kick people, you can get some bullet time, you can go into slow motion, you got a collection of guns, none of which are textured amazingly good. The textures in the world and the wall and the people all looks pretty bad. Early access for $14.99, and I don't think you just sell a game with Maximum Action as the name. I think you have to have a story behind that.
Reporting for duty.
I don't need any of you.
For justice.
Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Heroin Anthem Zero, Episode 1. They say it's an epic fantasy 2D side-scrolling ARPG with Japanese voiceovers and support for 7 languages. It is mixed reviews right now, 58% of 378 user reviews, which is interesting. It apparently came out December 23rd, 2016, so I don't know how I ended up with this on Steam again, or how I ended up looking at this game. It's interesting.
Let me think.
Sure. But why would I be looking at it now, and why is it relevant now? Picture shows a anime angel girl of sorts. Let's see, Swati attack and all other minions. Okay.
Reality breach.
Reporting for duty.
That.
For me.
Move quickly.
Let's see what the reviews are. Like, this was something from 2016, not recommended. This was from 2016, not recommended. This is 2017, is recommended. You know what, I can filter this. Date range. Let's see how to show graph. Draw a box. Okay. July 7th. This game is interesting but ends abruptly and is way too short. It relies heavily on girls in skimpy clothes, which just feels cheap.
Let me think.
Which, okay. Yeah, this feels like it's an abandoned game, so I don't know how this ended up on my list. How did it trick what's on Steam into thinking that it was
Access denied.
a new game? The other part about this would be to say that episode 1 just kind of ends and there is no episode 2. Well, okay, that's enough information for me to ignore it then. If it's been 2 years, you haven't gotten episode 2 out, that's more than enough to say this is an abandoned project. Right.
Converting stored energy. Reporting for duty.
We have a game on Steam called Super Pilot. It looks like it's an F-Zero clone. 100% positive of 11 user reviews. Looks like it has a track builder. It's not the most visually polished game. It's going for more of a smooth CG look, which actually I think I appreciate because too many F-Zero clones do go for a sharp neon look. So I'm going to wishlist this game. It's early access, 10% for $11.69. I'm going to keep an eye on it to see if a community grows around it and people make races. And it probably is something that might be worth having. Let's see. How are they constantly killing my one thing? I guess he's just using his fire blast to do it. Next we have a game called The Rains Down Players, a creativity-driven RPG about the rundown theater and pleasing the unruly clientele. Help the Rains Down players become a premier and only theater troupe in town. It says it's an it says it's an adventure RPG indie game. I would say the graphics look very, very bad. MS Paint style. And this feels like you're playing a game made by some theater kids and lacking in programming or gameplay design or mostly just lacking in animation ability. Rains Down Players is $3.99, too expensive by far for what it is. Let's see. This. And this is the best I'm gonna get, so this. PC Gamer, this is an old article that I've been trying to get to for a while. New Gundam Breakers comes to Steam next week. That was 4 days ago. The new Gundam game on PC was originally slated for release in June.
I'll be just like you.
So, yeah. I still don't think it's out yet, though. We have a game called Scarlet Smiling Skull, which is some kind of visual novel, or at least it claims to be. It looks like it's mostly line art, black and white line art. Very ugly looking. 10% off for $1.79, and so visually bad that I'm not interested. I'm not sure if I've talked about this, but I'll just say it again. TechRaptor has an article. Pinball FX3 remastering Williams Table alongside the classic incarnations, which is to say that they're not just taking the Williams tables and putting them in their game, they are adding the 3D model characters that dance around on top of the pinball tables, like several of their made-up things that are almost 100% distractions and don't add anything to the gameplay. Meanwhile, there's still complaints. I think I am also one of the people who complain about how Pinball FX3 handles the ball physics. And so they just don't play well. I guess I don't particularly have to worry about that since I bought the Pinball Arcade versions. ahead of time, I seriously doubt I would be convinced to buy these tables a second time on Pinball FX3. If somebody wanted to donate them to me, that would be fine, but and I'd give them a quick look, sure, but I don't think I would go any further than that. Let's see, we are in a weird position now, aren't we? Let's do one more game, because I only have a few more things to talk about. The game industry, Gamasutra has an obituary. Game industry veteran Gene Mauro, M-A-U-R-O. He was a digital media executive. He passed away September 15th at 49. He was best known for founding indie production company Capital Entertainment Group, CEG, and an obituary published earlier in the week includes more details about his career. He also co-founded Myelin Media, M-Y-E-L-I-N, a video game publishing company that would go on to release titles on PC and console over 50 countries, including Immortal Cities, Children of the Nile, and then a game I've never heard of. Okay, but alright, he passed away. We could cover that story and move on. 49 is pretty young. Gamasutra has a listing. Get a job. Obsidian Entertainment is hiring an engine programmer in Irvine, California. I'm sure all the Telltale employees who just got laid off might be looking for jobs now, although I doubt many of them are, or any of them are listening to me.
Reporting for duty. Job's done.
It's gonna be weird because The Walking Dead Season 3 is gonna come out on my channel, and I'm not gonna mention that Telltale is going out of business at all. But it may very well help me too. I'm on the Humble Bundle. There's a few more tabs past that, though. There's Humble Bundle game programming books you could get, but I'm not sure how well any of those books are. Honestly, the truth is, trying to learn programming yourself outside of a well accredited and they know what they're teaching and how to teach environment is not going to be great. You probably should go to school to learn programming first and then grow from a basis at that point. We have a game called Majula Frontier, M-A-J-U-L-A Frontier. Says it's a indie strategy RPG turn-based combat according to the tags. It looks like it's
Let me think.
some kind of turn-based RPG. I don't even know if there's much of a story or anything, or if it's just a boss rush. It has an interesting animation style. It's cartoony, almost like a South Park-esque look. Apparently it has something to do with some books. So it's like based on a book series.
I must move quickly.
It's more of a Cyanide and Happiness animation style, not a South Park animation style.
Battle. Photonic burst.
I fight.
Let's see, 10% off for $17.99, and it seems like there's DLC for a soundtrack and an ebook too. It's really expensive. It does not look good enough to be a $17 price. Let's see.
Reporting for duty. The battle.
I fight.
You cannot run.
Next game we have is called God Awe-Full Clicker. And so, I mean, if that's what you're gonna name your game, you've probably already gone in the wrong direction. Honestly, this looks like a clicker game that might actually have been slightly interesting. It's got a whole bunch of different Roman and Greek gods that I think you're upgrading and getting items and all kinds of things to modify your clicking actions, and in the middle 2 characters are always fighting. And apparently there's also some match 3 puzzle element to this. But then you name your game God Awful Clicker. It's free to play, but why do you do that? Why would you do that to yourself?
Reporting for duty. The battle! The battle!
Just bad advertising.
I fight.
Bad advertising. Only got a couple more. Gardens Between we already talked about. That'll definitely go on my wish list. We have a game called Outback Survival, which is clearly just an asset flip third person game. Let's see how much it is. Early access $12.99. And the pictures don't even want to load. But I'll just go ahead and jump to the assumption that I know that this is an asset flip game because it has like horrible mix of random things. Next game we have is Forest Survival, which also is just a asset flip, very low effort game. We can just skip to that. $13.99. I kind of feel like those 2 games may have been released by the same developer.
Mushroom power! The battle! You have been.
We have a game called The Young Mathematician, Easy Difficulty. It looks like it's probably a cell phone game for learning math. Inherently, a math cell phone game makes a lot of sense, but bringing it to PC doesn't really. This game can have minimal numbers between -100 and maximum numbers of +100, so that is pretty early mathematics there. But there are 40 achievements, and it seems like each achievement is a number. So this probably is more of an achievement game than a real game. It's 35% off for 64 cents, and it's part of a mega bundle. And yeah, this is an achievement game, a low effort game, not a real game. Let's see. And we have a game called Color Cannons Plus, which seems like it's a Warlords style clone. Warlords being an old arcade game. 4 characters on a flat plane shooting colorful cannon shot at each other. It's multiplayer only, so I'm not going to play it anyways, but I don't think it's that interesting looking. 30% off for $3.49. Let's see. I already talked about that. Gamma Sutra had an article, Blizzard cracks down on third-party data tracking apps in Overwatch. So yeah, don't use a third-party data tracking app in Overwatch. We have a game called Implan that describes itself as an exploration but not amazing game. Why would I want to play your game if you don't even think it's amazing? Looks like it's a low effort asset flip for $5.99. And I have nothing else to talk about. Good. Alright, well that wraps it all up relatively nicely. We've gotten everything done we needed to get done on Steam. Well, on Steam listings of new games and on Hearthstone. All the daily quests have been done. I am fairly certain we are on the Asian account, right? Let's just look down here and make sure we've got some Asian names on people who have friended me. Yeah. That would be really bad if it turned out we were still on the European account and we just hadn't gotten it all done. We went a little long still. At a certain point, I'm going to have to start breaking Hearthstone episodes into like hour-and-a-half long episodes. I would say this was a really good Friday stream. A lot of people came on the chat and talked. A lot of people, I am assuming, were watching today, which is interesting because usually Friday's the worst day of the week. And yeah, we were able to catch up and get everything done. And I'm still not regretting my decision not to look at PC Gamer, Eurogamer, so I can pretty much stop talking about them and just move on with my life. That's it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites like Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, or Battle.net, all of those links are down below in the description box. Also, down below is information on how to friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist, or gift me a gift card if you want to support me that way, or you can just support me through Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.